So we have this crazy story came out yesterday that there were secret commandos deployed on January 6th with shoot to kill authority. Now we started about a minute or so late because the initial story I had read said that Trump had deployed them, and I think that was incorrect. So we wanted to change the headline and then actually have a discussion about what it really means. It was the DOJ. It was apparently, I think, Rogan who deployed these commandos to prevent a terror attack. I don't know if it actually came from Donald Trump. I want to make sure that was clear, but this is huge. If it was the executive branch that was trying to shut this thing down, I think it's still incorrect to claim that there was an insurrection narrative or the insurrection narrative is completely absurd to begin with. And this is just more evidence to the fact that the media is completely in the wrong about what happened on January 6th. But there's a better story outside of all of this. That I think is the big news, the lead. There's also a really funny story. If an election was held today, Joe Biden would lose to Donald Trump. The nation supports Trump by an average of 5 points above Joe Biden in aggregate, not any single poll. And if the mainstream media is maintaining their narrative that Trump is currently involved in a conspiracy to overthrow American democracy and that there was an insurrection or a coup, that would mean that Americans, knowing this, support it more than Joe Biden, which says a whole lot about what their narrative is. But we'll have to break down the news to make sure we get it absolutely correct. There's a bunch of other stories. The Daily Mail has joined Getter, which is huge. Because once Getter becomes a utility for news gathering, you're going to see way more people signing up. So that's a big deal. 500,000 people reportedly signed up for Getter after the Joe Rogan episode. And we've also got reports about lockdowns coming in Canada. And believe it or not, Bernie Sanders will face a primary challenge from the left.
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden will? What speak, Jack.
Bernie Sanders' campaign manager says that Joe Biden
Joe Biden
will face a primary challenger. And since it's Bernie Sanders' manager saying this, I guess the implication would be
totally
that
screwed that one up. Thank you for correcting me on that one, Jack. Okay, then. Well, as all of you know, Jack.
Live fact checking. Live fact checking.
I got that one wrong. Jack, what's going on?
What's going on? Welcome back. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everybody. It's been a minute. I've got my Baidzwa t-shirt on, which is Tim's favorite word in Mandarin. But Tim, why don't you tell us, what does Baidzwa mean?
White left.
White left.
It's Mandarin for SJW.
And the subtitle is China figured it out, we didn't. Right? And so this was actually sent to me by the Myth Informed guys for Christmas. So Merry Christmas, guys. You bunch of filthy atheists. And no, it's really cool. This is the idea that in the West, right, we are sort of controlled by the grip of this like fearsome minority of the white left, where they're just these angry little, but very vocal and loud, screaming leftists that are all typically white and have this undue influence in the West for some reason. And China figured this out and made it a joke years ago.
Mm-hmm. We saw this with Patton Oswalt. He's a perfect example.
Amazing
He's like,
example.
I've been friends with Dave Chappelle for 34 years, but I'm going to
example.
apologize for being friends with him.
I'm going to apologize for being friends with the guy who created and starred in Chappelle's Show, right? Yeah. Who's one of the probably the most prominent comedian in the country right now. I mean, how could you think of anyone that's more prominent than
Rogan, Chappelle, the two of them together?
I mean, is Rogan just a comedian though?
No, he's eclipsed that.
Because he's more than, he's prominent, but I think he's prominent for being other than just his comedy.
We'll get into this.
Yeah.
We got Luke here.
Jacek Posobiec, thank you so much for coming on here. And
Bardzo dziękuję.
Yeah, I'm impressed. He's been working on that. But anyway, today I am wearing a shirt representing Joe Biden in his natural essence and habitat. That, of course, is a puppet. With the saying, who's really in charge? That's a big question. And of course, that's left to a lot of interpretation, but it gets a lot of people thinking. And if you want to do that, you can by just getting this shirt on thebestpoliticalshirts.com and supporting me at the same time. I'm excited for this conversation. Jacek, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. And we also have a new person joining us that came back that wasn't here this year at all.
He hasn't
I just
been
got
here all
hired.
year.
First time all year. Since last year.
My first time on
dad
TV,
jokes.
guys, so
That's right.
be nice to me.
Be
Hey,
gentle.
I'm back, guys.
One of last season's...
What's up, dudes?
You survived with Langoliers, man.
It was wild. I fell asleep on the plane. I don't remember much after that.
Yeah.
Did you see any walnuts that were possibly airborne?
I almost screamed at you just now.
Possibly airborne.
Yeah. Maybe
airborne
not.
walnuts.
Ian survived.
Yeah,
Everyone was like,
is Langoliers at the end of the movie. They're like, yeah,
and then it like pauses in midair where they're like jumping freeze frame.
I don't think so.
Cheap movie.
No.
I never saw the end.
think
Wait,
so.
you know,
That might have been
what's really funny is
Scanners or
I've only ever watched Langoliers once, but I was on an airplane and I never saw the ending because I fell asleep.
Oh, there you go.
Dirty.
See, it's a common problem.
Dude,
Ooh,
I
man.
promised him I was going to start wearing jeans on the show and no longer wear my pajamas. I'm going professional this year, but I got to show you guys this. I came home yesterday
He's wearing pajamas.
And I
ladies and
found these.
Oh my gosh.
Who would send me such crazy and amazing pajama pants? It was Luke Rutkowski.
Those are super
I
rad.
was
Yeah,
like,
those look new.
Ian, you've got to
Those
wear
look like haven't
pants,
been
man.
slept
they're
in.
smooth. Tim's like, come on,
Yeah.
dude. I was like, no, tonight.
This is a professional environment.
Tonight we're
Yes.
getting smooth.
We're
Thanks,
in the
Luke.
office
You're
here.
very welcome.
Yeah.
I love you
Alright.
guys. Thank you so much. I had an amazing time away from the TV for a little while, and I highly suggest doing the same for yourself, for your state of mind. Be good to yourself and your friends and your family. Now is the time.
Amen.
Right on. We got Lydia.
Yeah, I'm here as well. We were joking about polarity before the show tonight, which is always great source of freaking dad jokes. And I did want to say that I remember when the Chinese went from making fun of the bites wow to like weaponizing them. That was
Totally
really
weaponized.
sad.
That's right. It's very
Yeah.
smart.
Watch.
All right, everybody. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member. We're going to have a special members-only podcast that goes live around 11 or so p.m. We do that Monday through Thursday, so it'll be, of course, with Jack here. And as a member of timcast.com, you're supporting all of our journalists, all of the work we're doing, and we are constantly innovating and expanding and working on more amazing projects, hiring more journalists. The more you guys sign up, the more we expand and do the news reporting. We get a ton of people working here now. I think it's like up to like 32 maybe. And that's all thanks to you. So again, go to Timcast, support our work. Check out the store where you can buy awesome merch like this shirt that says, "Don't be that guy, be a gorilla." And if you understand the meme, it's the Alex Jones meme when
Right.
he came in here and he kept saying, "I am a gorilla," over and over again. And we decided to make a positive thing. We don't want to tell people, we don't want to make I'm not that guy. No. Don't be that guy. Be a gorilla. Be strong. Be confident. We were like, we need a positive message here. But don't forget, you can also subscribe to this channel, smash the like button, share the show with your friends. Let's read this story here. This is from Newsweek. Came out the other day. Secret Commandos with shoot to kill authority were at the Capitol. On Sunday, January 3rd, the heads of a dozen elite government special operations team met in Quantico, Virginia, to go over potential threats, contingencies, and plans for the upcoming joint session of Congress. The meeting and the subsequent deployment of these shadowy commandos on January 6th has never before been revealed. Right after the new year, Jeffrey Rosen, the acting attorney general on January 6th, approved implementation of long-standing contingency plans dealing with the most extreme possibilities: an attack on Donald Trump or Vice President Mike Pence, a terror attack involving a weapon of mass destruction, and a declaration of measures to implement continuity of government requiring protection and movement of presidential successors. Rosen made a unilateral decision to take the preparatory steps to deploy the Justice Department's so-called national forces. There was no formal request from the U.S. Capitol Police, the Secret Service, or the Metropolitan Police Department. In fact, no external request from any agency. The leadership in justice and the FBI anticipated the worst and decided to act independently, the Special Operations Forces lurking behind the scenes. So here's the question I have with this story. If they knew all of this, if they had the foresight to say there was a very serious threat, where was the National Guard? Where were the Capitol Police? Why weren't they sharing intelligence? Why weren't they doing anything to prevent the so-called
It's
insurrection?
almost like they wanted it to happen.
So I can explain to everybody a couple of things here if you want. So there was that bit. So right before we started, there was a question of, because I think, Tim, you had seen on the Daily Mail, the way they categorized this.
I think it was Daily Mail.
It may have been Daily Mail, that Trump had deployed these teams, right? Which changes things. But if you read through what it states is that Trump had approved the authority for these teams. But
Interesting.
Trump approved the authority for these teams back during the summer of 2020. And he had put the order in because, remember, the riots were going on late May, early June 2020. Horrific. The city of D.C. was on fire.
Hold on. Trump authorized commandos with shoot to kill authority because of the George Floyd riots?
So yes and no. Well, yes, right. It's
That's
not like
crazy,
it's not like he
dude.
specifically said that, but this is what we would call this is the NCR con-op. So the NCR con-op, and if Tom Sauer were here, he would know exactly what I'm talking about. That essentially means if there is a threat to the national capital region, that's kind of like all bets are off. Like, this is the head of the government, right? So if there is a threat to the national capital region, that stuff's just in place. You just press the button and boom, all this stuff gets spun up. And it gets spun up real fast. And so I believe, and I knew, and I reported some of this back when it happened, but there were reports that the 82nd Airborne was flying airborne. Remember those helicopters that you saw over DC during the summer of 2020. So let me just put it this way. If the 82nd is up in the air, who do you think is on those birds, right? Who do you think is operating on the ground if you can see the 82nd up in the air, right? It's just one of those like common sense kind of things. Like just think about this. That's tier 1 response, because if the head of government goes down, right, who else is left? Like you need to defend the Capitol. And so they do not play any jokes with, they do not mess around with that stuff. And so we already knew that Barr during the summer of 2020 had taken the step to deputize all federal law enforcement agencies. Remember this was reported. I know you've talked about it.
Are you talking about in Oregon?
Throughout the entire country, all 3-letter agencies that were 1811. So if you have an 1811, that means you're a special agent. So if you're Customs and Border Patrol under DHS, if you're Secret Service, if you're even IRS, right, has 1811s. That's your special agent, federal law enforcement. That means I'm federal agent, right? Federal agent, right? That's 1811. So an 1811, however, is not normally tasked with, or your Bureau of Prisons, for example, they have 1811s. You're not usually tasked with defending the Capitol. Barr put forward this is the same reason why BORTAC, which is the special ops unit for the border, went up to Oregon.
That's right.
So Barr had put out this blanket order. So a bunch of these blanket orders were signed during that period. This is one of them. However, I don't think Trump ever considered that it would be used at the Capitol during this.
Interesting.
However, because the authority was already signed, Rosen looked at it and said, yeah, sure, send them to the Capitol.
They didn't do anything, though.
So we know.
Oh, I see.
Well, so what I think the reason why is this coming out in Newsweek now? Why, when there's been so many questions about January 6th, when this has been front page news, even though, by the way, the ratings on anything related to January 6th, they're in the dumpster, right? Nobody in like the rest of the country is really caring that much about this. And the opinion polls bear this out. That you have one narrow band of people that like really, really care about it, and they all watch Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid, and a lot of them are in the White House currently, like Ron Klein. But other than that, people have kind of moved on. They care about inflation, they care about the gas prices, etc. But suddenly you've got people like Darren Beatty, like myself, who have been out there talking about, Tucker Carlson had this huge documentary about what was going on with federal agents in terms of this. We're 1 year away from it. We know that the January 6th committee has been continuing. They're going after Hannity now. They're going after other people.
Hannity.
They knew they are. They've just requested his, they've requested his assistance. And then if he doesn't comply, that'll be next step.
Did they request documents from you?
I have not had any communication from January 6th committee. And then, where was I on that? Okay, so they know that something is going to come out regarding this. And remember, they all called Tucker Carlson crazy. They said tinfoil, hair on fire, for suggesting that federal agents from these agencies may have been involved on January 6th or involved with any of these militias or anything like that. And now suddenly we get these people coming out on their own to say, well, okay, we did have special operations commandos, but they were only there to protect. They were only there to do this, and we guarantee they weren't doing anything else.
So you think that some of these guys were involved with effectively planning or pushing people towards things like that? Well, I don't want to say that guy's name necessarily, but there's a guy who everyone's accusing of being a Fed.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it would be that far, but I would guarantee you that at some level, if these guys were doing their jobs, they would be running operations. They would be dressing up plain clothes. They would be going into the crowd. They would be saying, "Hey, what are you guys doing after? What are you doing after the thing? You going up to the Capitol? Maybe?"
I think the narrative's already.
I think that's all going to come out.
Well, the idea that the DOJ had enough foresight to prepare to have special operations on the ground suggests that for some reason they did not have standard law enforcement, police or National Guard, that they were so worried about a terror attack that they get a handful of these commandos. Why not go talk to the police and say, "Hey, look, we think this is a serious threat, so why don't you beef up security?"
Which, by the way,
in that video where the guy says,
"Tim, you're don't bury the lead." There was a terror attack. There were pipe bombs that were planted on January 5th, the night before, at the RNC and the DNC. I'm like, I get that you want to go after like rolling up, MAGA meemaws and everything in Alaska, but I'm a little bit more worried about who was planting the pipe bombs, you know, at the heads of our national committees for both parties.
The intelligence agencies definitely lost the Vegas shooter, that thing.
Stephen Paddock, the guy
That's definitely
who,
one way
you
of
know,
expressing it. Because
largest mass shooting in U.S. history, and yet we don't even know anything about his motive.
And then the fact
sure.
that we had this incident, you know, all over Washington D.C., which is a surveillance grid, which has surveillance cameras everywhere. You had someone leaving pipe bombs, and they still haven't caught the person that
next to the
did
Capitol.
that.
And if people don't know
where
those are located,
I believe
they're
the
within
RNC
walking
or
distance.
DNC as well. There's a number of pipe bombs that day, and this, of course, leads to a lot of speculation, a lot of conspiracy theories that there was a plan B if something didn't work out, that they would use this as a staging.
You've seen the Blue Anon thing on this, right?
Yep.
Who they claim who it is?
No, I didn't see that.
You haven't seen this?
Who did they claim was that?
There is a Blue Anon thing out there where they claim that the pipe bomb, because of what is it? There's like some reason that they say from the video. I don't know if it's the sneakers or the walk or something. Blue Anon actually claims that the pipe bomber was Marjorie Taylor Greene. I kid you not.
Wow.
You can go look it up. They actually have, I don't know if there's articles, but you can find it on like TikTok and stuff, where they say, that we think it was Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they have these whole theories and like where was she the night before, etc. They're making fake tweets about it.
Yep. No joke. Daily Dot fake tweet attempts to link Marjorie Taylor Greene to Capitol.
Yeah, and
pipe bombs.
Daily Dot is like as far left crazy as you can go.
I'm kind of with you here, Jack. I think the federal government is more implicated here than we even know about.
Wait, look at this. Same gait, same left arm swing, same dropped left shoulder.
That is
Shoes
crazy.
look the same.
Turns out it was a human.
Wait,
Just like-
guys. Dark pants.
Whoa.
Dark
Naturally.
pants
Stop.
were both worn by Marjorie Taylor Greene.
That's a shadow.
And the pipe bomber casts
proves
a
it.
shadow. Roller suitcase.
Oh, she
a
has one of those?
roller suitcase.
She has a roller bag too.
She
the
also
only one?
has a roller bag.
Nobody
Yes.
has a roller
No,
bag.
nobody has
Not a
roller
single
bags.
person.
Yeah.
That
They stopped
proves
using
it.
those in the 90s.
I mean, that's fair.
Now everyone's got skateboards. They carry all their stuff in individually wrapped plastic bags.
I'm going to have to be skeptical on this one. I've been watching a lot of information on the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and that I've heard that the American government knew there was going to be an attack. They didn't know where, so they were they just let it happen because they needed to incite the people to get angry and go to war. And when I see these like waiting, letting it happen, they knew it was they were there just in case, but they kind of let something happen. It looks like they obviously didn't stop it.
I can't.
Well, that's the whole thing about like Admiral Layton, who was the N2 or the J2 for PACOM at the time, who was the intel director out there before he was Admiral. I think he was Commander Layton. My Navy buddies are going to be mad at me for that one. He had predicted that it would come to Pearl Harbor, but nobody listened to him.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways people address that. They say either we had reason to believe, it was ignored, we had intelligence, it was ignored, or they outright knew it was about to happen and said, stand down, we need it.
Well, it's not that we didn't miss that the entire Japanese fleet left Tokyo. It was
Right.
the idea is, are they going to hit the Philippines, are they going to hit Hong Kong, or are they going to hit Hawaii? And what people don't realize is that they actually hit all three at the same time.
But I will say this, because I can't speak to that stuff. I will say the history people think they know, man, if you had any idea. And the example I often give is...
If the news are fake, imagine history.
Take a look at Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street, the story of what went on in Occupy Wall Street is predominantly told by those who favored Occupy Wall Street. The people who opposed it weren't in the park. So there were very few people who are going to give you an honest assessment of what actually happened there. And even the people who might be there as actual journalists couldn't see the entirety of the picture. Not even I could, not even Luke could. We were down there. But I'll tell you this, the stuff I see they write about Occupy and what was going on, I'm like, man, they just lie about everything to make it seem good. What's going to happen is it's going to be 20, 30 years, and they're going to be like, we're going to read this book on what happened during Occupy Wall Street, and it's going to be all fluff, all of the bad stuff stripped out, and I'm sure the same is true for American history and for the Revolution.
The Spanish Civil War
Spanish Civil
specifically.
War. There's probably a whole bunch of really crazy, gruesome, awful stuff the Americans did during the War for Independence that just doesn't get told about.
Yeah, dude, the Native American genocide.
Oh, dude.
The conquest.
Well, I mean, it's conquest. You look at the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson, which is a fantastic movie, and they talk about the you know, what did he call it? I don't know, the wilderness campaign, the really brutal stuff that this guy did. There's probably stuff you're never going to hear because the people who won were probably like, don't tell them what we had to do to win. Give them a good victory story.
It's actually why I like the movie Fury. If you've seen that one. Oh, really? You haven't seen that? So this is a movie. Any of you guys seen that?
No.
So Brad Pitt, I think Shia LaBeouf is in it, and a couple other people. And it just shows it's a story of like one tank unit in Europe, and it's just it's the mud and the grit and the dirt, and like some kid comes up with an RPG and they've got to shoot the kid, right? Or else he's going to blow up the tank and kill everybody. And it's dirty and it's nasty. And there's this one part where Brad Pitt and they have the German, right? And so Shia LaBeouf has just joined the unit, is kind of the plot of it. And they've got this Nazi that they've captured, and they're like, and Brad Pitt's like, we ain't got no room for prisoners here. This ain't a prisoner unit. And he's like, he's got a job. His job is killing you. You got a job. Your job is killing him. Are you going to do your job? Or are you going to let him do his job? And it's just like all these various scenes like that culminating, the first thing he has to do is wash his buddy's like face and guts out of the tank because he's taken that seat.
Yeah, I've seen that movie. It was very.
Oh, you have
very,
to. Yeah,
now
yeah,
it reminded me exactly of who you were talking about.
Like,
but
this is
history's
what
filled with this.
99% of warfare was like.
Yeah, and there's also the bombing of Dresden, which goes unaddressed and not talked about. What FDR knew about the camps. There's so much history that again we just aren't privy to, and so much of it has been covered up and censored.
Who infiltrated Auschwitz twice, was writing reports from in the early 40s. Back to a Polish underground intelligence officer infiltrates Auschwitz, sets up literally a radio relay from inside the camp to get it out to the Polish underground. They send the reports back to the British. The British put it on a shelf.
Yep.
Wow.
FDR too.
Well, FDR. Yeah.
Let's talk about modern sentiments because I want to stay on the January 6th topic. We have the story from Newsweek. Biden starts 2022 trailing Trump by average of nearly 5 points in 2024 election polls. Now, I would like you to all enter the worldview of the establishment left. They believe that Donald Trump staged a military coup and failed. They believe that Donald Trump staged an insurrection and failed. They believe that he is currently trying to engage in another coup and another insurrection, the Atlantic Rights. Trump's next coup has already begun. January 6th was practice. Donald Trump's GOP is much better positioned to subvert the next election. Combine these stories, and you will start to see a very interesting picture.
Is this the one where it's like, people are running for a local precinct chair and stuff?
But look, there's another story that we talked about on the show a few weeks ago where it says the Trump conspiracy is still continuing. If the Atlantic, if these mainstream publications genuinely believe that Trump is actively engaging in the subversion of U.S. democracy, it means that the polls show more Americans favor the insurrection and the coup than the establishment government.
Well, I have a thing on this, and I was kind of joking around on Twitter yesterday, and I said, all of the headlines make sense if you can learn to speak regime English.
Regime English.
Regime English. Yeah, I figured you'd like that one. And so if you speak regime English, and I lifted this bit from Adrian Vermeule, and I don't usually make it a habit of quoting Harvard professors, but he's kind of like a token good guy, so I'll quote him. And he said, when they say democracy, they really mean liberalism, right?
Yeah.
So just always substitute the word. Trump is a threat to democracy. Trump is a threat to liberalism. Trump is seeking to subvert democracy. Trump is seeking to subvert liberalism.
You see that, but I don't even think liberalism is the right word because they're a cult. It's just something entirely
different. The liberal
different.
economic order, that thing they started in the 40s.
The liberal order.
Did you see that clip that went viral where they're like the Republicans are a threat to democracy because they might win elections?
Yeah, it's not a coup when you unseat a sitting president through votes and win the election. That's a natural way that it functions. It might seem coup-ish because it's a new guy coming in and unseating the old.
They have, right, in their own mind, they have gone so far into their own, you could use the phrase of the day, mass formation psychosis, where they actually believe that democracy and liberalism are synonymous, that they're the same thing. There can be no other order. And this, of course, is not just a mass formation psychosis thing. This is actually religious belief, right? There can only be one true religion. So if there can only be one true order, then anything that arises that's a threat to that's outside the Overton window of our order must therefore be against all of democracy.
Take a look at this other story we have from Timcast.com. About half of both Republicans and Democrats view the other side as enemies that threaten their entire way of life.
Wow.
So maybe it is true. Maybe most Americans, if an election was held today, would vote for Donald Trump over Joe Biden. But here's the thing. Those Americans support Donald Trump don't believe an insurrection happened. These are people who probably read the news, watch the news, saw what's going on, and they're like, that's ridiculous. The narrative isn't true. Because if they truly believed that what Trump did was a military coup, they probably wouldn't support him. But they don't, because
A military coup without the military or without any guns.
and a bunch of unarmed people. And most
Well,
of which were
I've
let
always
in
said
through
this,
open doors and
this-
smiling police.
And this will be, Nancy Pelosi, if you're watching, right? I think I think I said this on air.
She doesn't know how to use the internet.
Oh no, yeah, no, but her little acolytes do. The disparity here is that the people inside the media and inside the Democrat Party and inside the January 6th committee say that every single person that showed up on January 6th was anti-Constitution. But if you talk to anybody who was in the crowd on January 6th, right, they probably, every single one of them would have said, no, I am for the Constitution. You're not following the Constitution, and that's why we're here, right? So in their mind, they are the ones fighting against a coup. You get it?
Right.
In a way, it's like the easiest solution because neither one of them intend to stage a coup. They both think the other one's doing what they're doing, or the other one thinks that they're doing what they think the other one's doing. And but
that's
one's
objectively wrong.
Yeah, so how do you unwind that?
Here's what I think when I see this. I think this is mostly a product of the incoming generation and polarization from the previous generation. So I don't think we're seeing this hyperpolarization just because people are reading social media and becoming polarized. I think it's that younger people who are more radicalized by the previous generation. Or I think a fair way to put it is when you look at the Pew graph, conservatives have barely moved to the right at all. The left has gone far left. You have corporate America and liberal parents in big cities pushing this heavy indoctrination. I mean, my whole childhood growing up, it was just endless leftist, talking points. So these people grow up living in this world, which is far left. They weren't converted to the far left. They have developed in a far left mindset.
Yes.
So as time goes on, it is the new generations that are polarized against each other. What I mean to say is 2 millennials, one who is far left and one who is conservative, weren't like previously friends who read a news article and then went, I now disagree with you. Oh no, why are we enemies? These are people who grew up in entirely different realities and cannot see the other side. Now, it is true. It is the rule on the right. The right does read left-wing publications and does follow left-wing individuals. And it is the rule on the left that they don't. We've gone through the graphs. We've pulled up many left personalities. They don't read right-wing news. So you have the left that is in a collective, in an echo chamber, and the right, which looks at both. They're not going to get along.
I've also said though that this one of the biggest problems on of conservatives or up until now is that conservatives will pathologically deny and reject the notion that pop culture and Hollywood have any effect on society. They say, oh no, those are just movies. That's not real. Don't worry about that. Whereas, as you just said, there's an inundation of left-wing talking points out there. And a lot of that is coming through Hollywood, whether that be TV, movies, in some cases, video games now where it's coming in. And whereas if you're on the right, you're like, oh, well, no, we can just separate that out. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. And I think the new right is at least finally trying to get that software upgrade and understanding, no, wait, we actually have to do something about this. But it's amazing because I will tweet something about this and say, hey, I think this TV show or this movie or whatever it is had a bunch of influence in this direction. And I will get conservatives saying, oh, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. You can't talk about this. But what did Barack Obama do when he was in office? He would go on late night shows. He would go on comedy. He would do all this stuff. Yep. He would appear, in things. And people would say, and people on the right would just laugh. And they would attack it and they say it was stupid. He would go on YouTube and people would attack him. And meanwhile, on the left, they're like, oh, I like this guy. This guy's cool.
And this is the mistake that the media made with Trump. When Trump had his well-done steak with ketchup, he had a 30-day dry-aged steak, and he ordered it well done with ketchup.
Yes.
And the media mocked him for it. But that made him more relatable to middle America.
Well, just really quickly, this is why I think Barack Obama, after he left office, started to work with Netflix with an exclusive deal.
100%.
And I would even go further than you, Jack. I wouldn't say it's talking points. I would say it's covert, subliminal messaging that, of course, is put onto people through the forms of entertainment. It's not entertainment. It's propaganda. And it's fomented in a way where it's not... I don't think it's leftist ideologies. I believe the entire left has been taken over by a corporate corporate establishment that is using them as a conduit to push their agenda, to make people weaker, to make people dumber, to make people more needy for centralization, which of course is going to be granted and given to them through the multinational corporations. So I think, I wouldn't even describe these as leftist ideas, but more of corporatist ideas, with them really calling the shots here from my perspective.
Is it just fascism? Like when
That's
big,
one way to
big corporations and government colluding with each other?
Yeah, it's a new kind of digital fascism.
I mean, that's literal fascism.
But also now with the latest psychological tricks, they could get in our brain in ways that they never could before, especially with, again, social media, especially with how we interact with them and all the information we give them. They have data sets that dictators would have wished to have that will, again, help them conquer the general public, because we're literally giving them everything about us. And when
That's
they know
something
everything,
that,
they could weaponize that and use it against us.
So, have you guys seen Don't Look Up yet?
No,
Yes.
of course.
You've seen it. So
I thought it was great.
one thing I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the social commentary, and people were like lighting me up for saying that I like this, because everybody gets skewered in it. But one thing that I don't think people realized very well is the primary antagonist, like the main villain of the movie, is a tech oligarch, transhumanist,
Right.
globalist
/ Bill Gates.
it's like Bill Gates,
And Hillary Clinton.
Elon Musk, and like a Hillary type.
No. It shows a picture of the president hugging Bill Clinton.
Oh
Yeah.
wow!
Yeah, and it's irrelevant to the scene. When we were watching, Luke's like, "Look,
Clinton. It's like a half a second.
In the middle
I
of the
didn't even notice
conversation.
that. I totally didn't notice that.
Yeah, in the middle of the
My
conversation,
kids were running around.
it
I was
just
watching
jumps
it,
to
yeah.
a picture of the president hugging Bill Clinton for no reason, and I'm like, I get it. At the very
Right.
least,
So I think, is this one of the first times that we've seen that a tech oligarch has been portrayed as the villain in a movie?
Kingsman.
Kingsman,
Yeah.
would be one. The Circle, I think, would be another one, which like nobody has seen,
yeah.
even though it was Tom Hanks and Emma Watson. They totally memory hold that one because it was
I didn't
too
think
true.
I saw it. I barely remember it.
I loved it. I thought
Yeah,
it was
really?
fantastic. I thought it was fantastic. But one of the key things in Don't Look Up and that one is that all of what Luke was just talking about, they have all your data. And the way this is played out in Don't Look Up, and I thought it was funny. He was like, I can actually predict how you're going to die. Down to 96.6 percentage. And I looked up your algorithm when you left. The one thing I remember is you'll die alone.
Yeah.
And there's also that Amazon,
Which I'm not going to spoil it, but
and he's
actually
bossing
it
the
was
president around.
it was wrong. That guy, if you remember the ending, actually
Right.
his prediction
Spoiler.
was wrong.
Good.
I know, a little bit of a spoiler.
What
there.
was the
Yeah.
Amazon series that they canceled season 2 of because it was too real?
Utopia.
Utopia. That was another
Oh,
one.
was that? I don't know that
went
one.
after.
Did you see
oh,
that
you have
one?
to
No,
watch
I didn't
that
see
one.
it.
It's
Yeah.
about a tech billionaire who's worried about overpopulation. He makes fake meat.
Wait, and this was on Amazon.
It's on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
so hold on.
it
Hold
gets
on.
crazier.
Hold
Yeah.
on. Let me get through this. Explain because it's gonna.
Bezos was like,
gets
I don't
wild,
think
dude.
so.
They canceled it. They canceled.
They
All right,
canceled
hold
it.
on.
Yeah, Bezos had to.
Utopia is about a tech billionaire. He makes fake meat. He's concerned about overpopulation and climate change. So he stages a fake pandemic to rush through a vaccine without proper approval that secretly is sterilizing people.
You're still talking about a TV show.
TV
And hold
show.
on,
I
I'm
think
not
so.
done.
TV
And
show,
I'm
right?
not
This
done.
isn't-
I'm not done.
This isn't Luke's latest.
Hold on.
No.
In the show, there is a comic book that reveals what the plan is and what's going on. And the comic book is called Utopia. And so when they find it, they're looking through it to figure out clues for what's happening in real life, because whoever wrote this has privy to information.
So it's like a whistleblower is writing the
A
comic
mad
as a way
scientist
to.
that was
hold
a
on.
part of doing all
So
of
let me
this.
explain to you. It's a TV show where they find a piece of art and media that explains to them a tech billionaire who's worried about overpopulation is pushing through a rushed vaccine with a fake pandemic to sterilize people. Now, let's talk about reality.
Oh yeah,
In
I
the
thought we were.
Wait, I just-
Hold on.
just-
In
wait,
the
wait.
real world, we have a piece of art that claims to say that there's a tech billionaire who's concerned about overpopulation. But as we all know, our tech billionaires are concerned about overpopulation.
Yeah.
They want fake meat.
Wait, our tech billionaires
and
just care
they're
about us.
not.
They just care
they're
about us.
not
Do care about
trying to
Put us in the
depopulate planet.
metaverse.
No,
Yeah.
I've been
no.
diving deep into the metaverse this last couple of weeks. Is one thing I've been doing. I got turned on to this woman, Melanie Swan, by Alison McDowell. Thanks, Alison, who's very skeptical about blockchain and how it's basically a big tracking mechanism. This fascist global organization is going to use blockchain to track people. They want to create what's called decentralized autonomous communicative service, a let's see what this is called. Oh, I think I'm coming through loud. I hope you guys like this. Decentralized Autonomous Corporation as a block. The blockchain is a brain. They want to upload everyone's behaviors, thoughts, and feelings to this blockchain together to create this Uber mind and then just track it. And do what? I don't know, because a lot of this code is private.
Elon Musk is building, brain interface chips, and they're all talking about the metaverse, which is pretty much online digital heroin from my perspective.
That's
and
what
how
I
I've
think is
seen it.
hilarious.
Yes.
Is that people will go awful about Bill Gates, but then Elon Musk will come out and say, "No, I literally want to put a chip in your brain."
Yes. Huh.
And then nobody says anything. They're like, "No, but he's cool."
But Elon also attacked crypto because it was allegedly bad for the environment. So again,
right.
there's
he went on SNL and attacked it too.
Exactly. So there's a lot of things that the billionaires are up to that I think they have way too much control, way too much power, way too much influence, and they got there because of government, and now they're using government for their own personal benefit. And the billionaires are getting super rich right now. From 1 year, their wealth increased. I think it was $319 billion. Someone needs to correct me if I'm wrong. 1 year, the top wealth of 9 billionaires increased $319 billion.
Luke, you saw that photo, by the way, of Jeff Bezos down on his yacht.
Oh yeah, getting serviced by the lady with her mask.
Serviced by the lady with the mask, and he's there like glistening in the sun on his super
Vitamin
yacht,
D.
just like the
Developing immunity.
It will not be a tech utopia. It will be
Metaverse is how they exactly.
Play to earn, I
Metaverse
think.
is how they establish Elysium, right? Because the neo-feudalism and then the Elysium tech aspect comes in because you're distracted.
Yeah.
You're distracted by, and look, Palmer Luckey, like, I love you, dude. I think you're a good guy and all, but like, why did you give Oculus to Mark Zuckerberg, man? Come on.
He would have done it.
This was a step in that direction.
He would have done it regardless.
He would have done it regardless, but this is where it's going. And I by the way, I saw Zuby just got booked in the Metaverse, so he's going to be playing a show.
What
He tweeted
website?
out.
Did he say what website? There's a few of them now. There's
but-
Decentraland is one.
Yeah,
But is
the
it a
Metaverse
site
is
or
just-
is it a place?
It's
like
multiple
a club.
places. Yeah.
No, but it's like a place in the
Metaverse is
Metaverse.
meaningless. What people keep saying in the Metaverse, it's like, yo, there's been Second Life, there have been apps for this forever.
Sure.
And now they're just calling it a Metaverse or the Metaverse.
They're going to
or
integrate finances in with it.
Great-
crypto
great
finances.
branding.
I got into
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg's branding. It's also the phrase used to describe a nightmare dystopia, but sure.
I got into Decentraland. Bill Ottman, CEO of Minds. Like, you got to
This
check
is how
it
they
out,
do
dude.
it, man.
I went
this,
in.
This is how they're going to do it. It's you're going to be hooked up to this, and Mark Zuckerberg's going to be down at St. Bart's, and his life's going to be getting longer and longer, and his yachts are going to be getting bigger and bigger, and Leonardo DiCaprio's islands are going to be increasing, and he's going to be bringing more and more people down there while he talks about climate change, and all this is going to be going on, and you're going to say, oh, did you see what's going on in Metaverse?
You're going to be
tomorrow.
in a pod eating the bugs.
Your
Yeah,
8-year-old's going to be
100%.
making money on the Metaverse and going to be completely dependent on the system. It's going to be terrifying, dude.
Totally
Talk about
plugged in
feudalism.
from birth. Plugged in from birth.
Little kids in the womb might be playing games with their thoughts.
The Matrix.
And
Digital heroin. I think that's more of an accurate depiction because when people are hooked on it, just like they are social media, you see them in the grips of what the algorithms make them, and what they're doing to people, especially young people, is absolutely horrible.
See,
now
the
imagine,
polls understand this
Yeah.
inherently.
Wait,
Like, you don't need to explain this
Jack,
to
I
us.
just figured it out.
What you got?
So in Star Trek, what happens is, Zephram Cochrane, he discovers warp technology right as the Vulcans were passing by. And the
Sure, and
Vulcans
that's
are this
First Contact.
logic- First Contact,
Right.
right. In our reality, the Borg was just passing by.
Well, that is, we're in the one where they change then.
Right.
Because that's actually the plot of First Contact, where they go
right.
back in time.
The Borg
and it's
comes.
the Borg that comes.
But
and
the
they
Borg-
they make First Contact, and then you see for like a glimpse, right, where what the future would look like, and
Yep.
it's like a Borg world instead of the Earth.
Yeah, toxic gas. The atmosphere is
yeah.
polluted.
so the humans are just assimilated immediately.
Yeah. The entire planet
No,
is
not
assimilated.
immediately. It's that it shows you what the 24th century would look like if the Borg had made First Contact rather than the Vulcans.
Oh, God.
So for those that aren't familiar with us nerd stuff, the Borg is a race of they're people who are assimilated with technology into a hive mind, like digitally, and so they all become mindless drones.
Basically, everything Ian just said.
Kind of like a
Exactly,
DAC,
exactly.
a decentralized autonomous corporation.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen in the
AKA
future?
On a blockchain.
So did you see what Alex Jones was saying when he went on that rant and he was like, an alien intelligence has taken us over and I'm sick of it. And like he recently was yelling that.
I mean, he's been yelling at for 20
Nice.
years.
But artificial
Yes.
intelligence could be considered alien, right? Because it's brand new. It's
Well,
not
define
of this
al- yeah,
Earth.
define alien. Yeah, exactly.
And when
It's alien to our
and
species.
he might not be wrong, especially with how fast AI has been developing
Well, this
and
is
its
that-
larger consequences of it creating god-like authority and what Putin calls the new nuclear weapons that will be far more devastating on humanity. And the country that develops it first will be the ones controlling the world. So there's a lot to unpack there, but he might not be wrong there. Let's be real.
This is what Yuval Harari he calls it Homo Deus, right? Human gods, and I think there's a whole meta clip of this where it's Elon Musk on Rogan, and they intersperse it with Alex Jones on Rogan, and you actually hear that they're saying the same things, right? They're talking about the exact same things. Alex just does it in a more bombastic way.
yeah.
Elon does it in that like softer, more mercurial kind of way. But they're actually describing the exact same dynamics and forces at play.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like they say if you keep using old
Man
tools to
machines.
build the modern system, you're just going to end up with an old system because you're using old tools. So you use we're building the tools that we will use to build the future. I've been doing a lot of math in the last couple of weeks, and like the Fibonacci sequence, you take what the past number added to the current number to get the future number. So past number's 1, the current number's 1, the next number is going to be 2.
Everyone forgot.
And that's what technology's doing.
Everyone
too.
forgot what Yoda taught them.
We're going to be using this
What did he teach
technology.
you?
What's the
Everyone,
to create
everyone
this
forgot what
technology.
Yoda's most important lesson of all. We are luminous beings. We are not this crude matter. 100%.
I think we're the brain. Do you ever see
100%.
the picture of the brain stem connected to the brain with the brain stem and the eyeballs? Have you ever seen that picture?
Yes. And
Dude,
it looks like an
listen,
alien.
That's what we are
Check
floating
it out,
in
check
these
it out.
bodies.
No,
In China-
that's just your interface, man.
In
That's just
China
the
right
interface.
now,
It's the
to go
Oculus.
anywhere, you need an app.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's the viral video out of Israel where the guy needs the green pass. Do you see this one?
For McDonald's,
to
yeah.
eat
He goes to McDonald's.
And then if you click, you don't have one. It just resets.
Yeah, it just kicks you out.
You're just
This
not.
this
You don't
is-
exist.
It's all necessary for transhumanism. If we're going to, in order for transhumanism to exist, people have to step above the human experience. It no longer can be about carnal pleasures, dopamine, family, traditional anything. The human race has to be looked at like lab rats or chickens in a farm. Or not even a farm, but like a laboratory, to be controlled, to be mapped out. And that's what these people are doing. Now they'll probably end up building an artificial intelligence that will start guiding that behavior. But ultimately, the way I see it is you have single-celled organisms, and eventually they become multicellular organisms. Well, single cells go about their business and do their thing. But in the human body, you have highly specialized cells that do basically one thing. But they're cells, right? I think that's how they view the human race. Each individual human is just a stupid human going about its business. And if we fuse all the humans together, we can make a multi-organism system a higher plane of existence. I think that is part of what they want to do. Basically creating a hive mind. Put everybody in the metaverse, put everybody in the system, have all their brains work as like decentralized computational power, but it's going to require everyone to be, it's going to require homogenized cultures, homogenized behavior. So what do? Everybody get your green pass. Everybody fall in line, and those who don't, it's friction in the system, right? You were mentioning friction. You make a system where it's extremely difficult to exist outside of it, and eventually, given a few generations, people will not exist outside of it.
Yeah,
Or they
there's
will
this-
be, but they'll be irrelevant.
Yeah, there's a very American ideal that, you know, I will die for freedom. I will die for the right to make my own decisions, and I will, you know, sacrifice myself on the altar of liberty if need be. And I think that is sort of the American ethos, right? But at the same time, just look at the last 2 years, right? Humans comply. By and large, the majority of people will comply, and as the water increases, right, the boiling temperature of the water, it increases, and some people will say, hey, I think this water's getting hot. Hey, guys, I think these waters are getting, maybe we shouldn't be in this pot anymore, guys. I don't know, what do you think? This, that guy's crazy. This water isn't getting hot. I feel fine, right? And yet the water's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And then eventually you boil. And meanwhile, everybody who jumped out was called crazy for jumping out in the first place. I think that's closer to human nature. And I think that we've seen, by and large, the distribution pattern of human behavior has been that. Look, when it comes to America, when it comes to liberty, when it comes to the revolution, you know, people say it was like less than a third of the American colonists actually supported the revolution, actually went along with all
A little
this
bit
stuff?
more. I did a
I mean,
bit
it's
of
hard
research.
to, yeah.
But
There-
just
there-
really quick before we jump into that point, but there's also a Florida man that don't give a damn that bathes in it
That's
and
not
then
true.
distills
Excuse
alcohol
me.
in
That's
it.
not
Excuse me.
true.
Excuse me.
I-
I was not bringing Florida Man into this. There is
No,
no need.
Much love for
no
Florida Man.
need to bring
Do you
Florida
know
Man
why?
into
Do you know
this.
why the myth of Florida Man is based on sunshine laws?
Exactly.
I know
and
that,
and they
actually.
have
I know
we
that,
we,
yeah.
all, we all know about that. But
I do
but
know
but
that.
there is
Wait. Break
yeah.
that down because that doesn't get said enough.
Yeah, it does.
There's records release laws. Like
Yep.
if you commit a crime in Florida, the public has a right to know. A lot of states don't do that, so you'll constantly hear stories about Florida man doing something. Yeah, it's just because they release the information.
It's because they release the information other states don't.
yeah.
We're all
yeah.
like that.
If you're bored, just look up Florida
But
man
I-
in a particular date.
That
and
being
you'll be
said,
I
surprised.
did a lot
That
of
being said, if you go to like Western Florida, there's Florida Man down there.
I did a lot of research into how many people supported the revolution. And there's a famous letter where I think it might have been Ben Franklin wrote, a third support it, a third don't care, a third oppose it. But that's not true. That was just like a talking point. It was just rhetoric.
Okay.
The best I could find was that it was like, if I was going to give it a number, because I don't think they gave a number, they said a plurality, but not a majority, around 30 to 40, like 38 to 40% supported independence. And then it was like 20 something percent that opposed it. And then the next group was completely neutral. But it was. I don't think it's as cut and dry that most people didn't care. I think that is true. So I think my math might be wrong, but it was like, it was a mix. The best I could find, it's not easy, was that a large portion, if not the majority, like the plurality, wanted independence, and the next biggest group was leave me alone. I don't care. I want to have nothing to do with this. Then you had opposition. You had loyalists. You had the Tories or whatever they were.
Right,
called.
and that's why Canada exists, by the way.
Yeah, Quebec said no.
Yeah.
Because that was
they all
originally going
moved
to be
up.
the 14th colony. And
Right,
they were
so
like,
there
nah.
were, the Canadian colonies were still, there was no separation like there is now.
Right.
It was just the North American colonies. But a lot of the Tories moved up to Canada and said, no, we're going to fortify this area. This was Benedict Arnold's original mission, by the way, going through the Great Lakes to try to take those Tory colonies. Didn't go so well. He gets mad that he says he wasn't supported by Washington, etc. As he flips, that's the whole story.
Canadians.
Overlooked for promotion.
But they're actually,
Status.
if you go into this was the American invasion of Canada.
Yeah, no, we did invade. We did, didn't we? The United States tried taking Montreal.
Burn Toronto.
Yeah.
Well, what is
War
now
of 1812,
Toronto?
I
At the
think.
time it
Yeah.
was no. This is that's at that, and then so at the time it was called York, is what I was gonna say.
Oh wow.
And then so the burning of the White House was kind of seen as like a response to the burning of York.
Let's talk about La Resistance. From the post-millennial, 500,000 sign up on Getter after Joe Rogan joins platform with
You
a simple
love
tweet.
to see it.
Joe Rogan destroyed big tech and tore apart the chains of political discrimination, holding
huge.
back millions of patriots. Okay, that might be a little bit over the top,
little
but
hyperbolic.
as we are talking about the power of Silicon Valley and the metaverse and these tech billionaires, any opposition to this, be it, Getter or Gab or whatever, is a good thing. The Post-Millennial reports more than 500,000 people have joined Getter, a pro-free speech social media alternative. The surge in popularity was sparked by Joe Rogan. I don't think that's true necessarily. They say it was sparked by Joe Rogan joining the platform. I think it was Dr. Robert Malone and Marjorie Taylor Greene being banned.
I think it was a snowball
And then Malone goes on Joe Rogan
situation.
podcast
Yeah,
and says,
it was
I'm
a
on
snowball
Getter.
situation.
I signed up. I'm pretty sure I signed up, and a bunch of I saw some people signing up.
Oh, Tim doesn't want to get written out of the story. That's what it is.
No. I was not the first person. I saw other people saying they were getting on Getter.
No, I know
So-
because
so then-
you sent me a message that morning,
Right.
before Joe Rogan said
Before Joe
anything.
Rogan.
No,
And I was like,
no,
hey,
I'll
do you
back you
know-
up on that. You did.
I said, do you know the guys at Getter? It's not like I need to gain control of the account.
Well, because what they do is and a lot of like Minds did this too, where they would take like if someone's got a big account somewhere else, they would go and then reserve the same name for them
Right.
so that someone can't come out and camp on your
Exactly.
on your profile name.
So I saw other people posting they were going to Getter. I've done this before, but typically I'm like, when Getter came out, I was like, I'm not going to sign up for another one of these things, man. I got too many already. But then after listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, when I heard Dr. Malone say he was going to be there, I was like, I'll claim my account. I'll get on there because if people are going to be using it, I want to hear what they have to say if they're getting banned. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene is on there, of course. Carl Benjamin is on there.
Yeah.
Then I saw Joe Rogan sign up, and then I was like, oh, get it. And then everybody after that, once Joe Rogan was
Floodgates
like,
were open.
But it was his podcast that did it. When I heard his podcast and Malone said he was on it, that's when I was like, I'm going to look this up. I'm going to see what's up. So I think that is what drove. It wasn't Joe Rogan joining. It was Joe Rogan talking
And
about it on his show.
we were saying it was Gettermas. I mean, I had better engagement, and people know that. Look, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I'm on Twitter a little bit though, but I had better engagement on Getter that day, or fact, actually, it's still going on even till today. I've been having better engagement on Getter than I've been having on Twitter, and that's just because there's more people out there. And so there's a lot of people in the mainstream media who don't understand what engagement is, and they don't understand how social media works. And I saw some people tweeting out like, "Oh, well, Getter doesn't have as many users as Twitter, so you're diluting your brand, et cetera, by going on these things." I'm like, no, you don't get how this works. You totally don't get how this works.
When the New York Times gets like 3 retweets,
yeah,
and
they
they
go,
have
"Oh my
millions of
gosh,
followers."
it's flood. Their notifications are flooded."
It's crazy when you look at mainstream celebrities and they get no interactions. And there are a few people who work for these big media companies that I know, and I'm like, yo, their accounts are so fake. They get followers because they're put on what's
I
called
can always tell, dude.
suggested
I can always
user
tell.
lists.
I can always tell.
When people sign up for Twitter, they're like, follow this person. They go, okay. And then no one cares what the person has to say.
Well, this is the Rubin ratio. Didn't Rubin come up with that?
What is it?
So it was the Rubin ratio, where it's the amount of followers you have versus the amount of engagement you get.
Ah, I've not heard that.
Yeah. So if you have and if you look at like an Anderson Cooper, right? Like he has a really bad Rubin ratio because he'll have like 3 million followers
And no one
get like
engages.
20 retweets. Yeah.
And then for me, I make some ish post about random garbage and get like 1,000 retweets.
Exactly.
And then people in media believe it's real, and then everyone who retweets it's in on the joke. I really love that. The funny thing is, so many, I said, LOL, Joe Biden is so dumb, haha, got him or something. And then MEAWW runs the story like Tim Pool was slammed. I'm like, isn't it obvious to these people yet? Like that my tweets are garbled nonsense?
It's kind of this weird dynamic where they've decided to turn. So you understand, like if you're not someone who's part of the program, right? If you're not on team Just Look Up, right?
Yeah.
You're a zoo animal, right? Like you're an exhibit to them. It's what I remember. There was one time where Cernovich and I were just randomly joking around about how ugly cargo shorts are, and we got written up. They're like, the right wing has launched an attack campaign on cargo shorts. How dare they? And like it's like this thought piece, and they were trying to explain how like right wing ideology led to and I'm like, guys, it was. Like, it's just, we're just messing around.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with cargo shorts.
There's everything wrong.
I want to let you guys, real quick, I want to say something important. 2 things.
Completely disagree.
Technically 3 things. Twitter does not drive engagement. So this was true back when I worked at Vice and Fusion. They'd always, like, I think, I'm not sure if they did, but I'm pretty sure Fusion.
Well, drives engagement on Twitter.
On Twitter, but
yeah.
Fusion was like, we don't care for a Twitter button because nobody clicks links on Twitter to go out.
Nope.
So but here's the important thing. On Getter, check this out. Daily Mail has signed up for an account. This is big. They got 384,000 followers. I don't know how many are actual followers on Getter because they do this thing where they just say you have followers on Twitter for some reason.
They migrate your followers over. Yeah.
And then people claim their accounts or something.
Yeah. And I wish they would. It's clever because it's for a startup, but I wish they would at least from you're as the user, you could see the differentiation, right? Yeah. That you could see, hey, this is real. Here's
what's important though. In their latest posts from yesterday, AOC's ex-communications director says Biden is old, as ish, and deeply unpopular. It's got 164 reposts, like retweets effectively, 450 likes, 36 replies. That is really good engagement. The New York Times doesn't even get that engagement on Twitter.
Getter engagement's real.
It's legit.
Completely
people
real.
Talk, and that's what's important. Are you engaging with people? But more importantly, they're actually getting play they probably wouldn't get on Twitter.
Yeah.
Getter's got better engagement.
And I've seen some people
Early
asking me
adopters.
about this. They say, why are there so many Chinese accounts on Getter? And this has come up a lot. And that's one thing where, I realized because I've been on Getter for a little bit that people don't realize this, that Getter was the first community that came to it was the Chinese whistleblower community. And these guys, I went out and spoke at an event they held actually on the 4th of July at the World Trade Center. And my wife and I got up and we both gave a speech in Mandarin to them.
Wow.
It's this massive organization. It's predominantly overseas Chinese that have fled the regime, as well as some that are inside China still that are now able to use Getter and use other places to communicate. And people don't realize how many of them there are. So I think something like I was watching an interview with Jason Miller, and he actually admitted that like only 30% of Getter's user base is US. and the rest is overseas. And Twitter's, I think, is even less than that. Twitter's like 15% U.S.
I just wanted to ask you, what makes you trust Getter, and are there any kind of guarantees that they won't become the next Twitter and start censoring people? Because there's already some rumors that people are being censored and deplatformed from there. Are there any kind of guarantees that you're reassured by when it comes to Getter? Because I signed up because I just saw everyone doing it, but I'm, of course, skeptical.
I mean, I don't think there's any guarantees on anything in life. Was it death and taxes, right?
Yep.
But, I caught, and I think I caught yesterday when you were talking about this, it's your terms of service, right? Are you being held to, are you upholding your terms of service, or are you playing games with some kind of like amorphous, vague, ambiguous community guidelines that nobody can really make any sense of? So give me at your terms of service. Okay, I'll read this. I'll say I can say this, I can't say that, etc. Same way YouTube has terms of service, right? They have certain very clearly delineated things that you can and can't say. Okay, fine. Like this is your yours is your playground. I'm going to play by your rules. But at the same time, if you're just arbitrarily censoring people, then that's what I'm going to call out.
Yeah, we read the terms and services. They seemed very legalese and very vague from our perspective. I mean, that's how I saw it. Is there anything particular in there that kind of you saw that's different than the other platforms?
Not specifically, no.
Okay.
I'm looking at the terms right now. You may not post.
I think a lot of that
We
stuff.
we read the Getter terms the other day. They have like
profane. Can't post profane stuff on Getter.
hate speech is banned.
Yeah. Define profane.
Hate speech is outright banned.
Yeah.
Is it proprietary?
explicitly.
Is it proprietary code? Is it open source code or proprietary code? I can't find it open source. I think it's
The terms
proprietary.
Now this is important.
The whole
Is it criminally defined hate speech like when
up to the
police
admins.
officers get
There's
to
no
go
such
after
thing as criminally defined.
you know
Anything
what I mean?
unlawful.
There is in other countries.
Like who's going
Right.
to be the
Yeah.
one? That's
'Cause
what I
like-
mean. Are
because
they
like-
going to
well,
be
no, no, no,
implementing
no,
the laws
because
from?
this is-
Are they going to be implementing the laws from Germany?
No,
or
but-
is
but
there
Luke-
going to be someone else who's going to be making those decisions on what is hate speech and what
It's
is not?
usually the
and
state
who's
law.
going to be making those decisions?
No, because this
and
is
what
with Rumble.
oversight will there be?
With Rumble, though, this is the issue because Rumble is Canadian, and in Canada they do have hate speech laws.
It comes
Yeah.
down to the state that the company's incorporated in. You got to follow those state laws if you're going to go by.
And Getter is
unlawful.
incorporated.
But then,
don't know. Let's
but then
find out.
Rumble is moving to Florida,
Yes.
right? They're moving their
Yeah,
headquarters.
good.
So my question is, will their move to Florida then change their terms of service
It'll change how they define what's legal.
in a sense? Because even though they're still
I
be
think
operating in
the
Canada.
terms are written so they can stay on the Play Store and the App Store.
Well, yeah, obviously.
You don't have to enforce them ever. That's true.
Yeah.
But they check that stuff.
It's
Well, they make
basically-
excuses. I mean, Twitter's loaded with adult content, and they don't
Yeah.
care about that.
You
But
know, it's like
hasn't that always been part of Twitter though?
No, I'm pretty sure it's not allowed.
I
But
think-
it's quote unquote not allowed, but they allow it.
like
they don't
every
ban it.
social network, they can
No,
ban
even
you
when-
at any time for
'cause
any reason.
But when Dorsey was CEO, like he was always very public that they allowed porn.
I don't know if that's true. You want to pull that up? See if
Yeah, I think
does Twitter
Twitter did use porn. I'm pretty sure.
I think
I'm
Twitter
pretty
is-
sure it's not allowed
I think Twitter's always said that we allow this.
because the App Store doesn't allow that.
Really?
The App Store will ban you if you allow adult content.
And yet another, and this goes back to Luke's theory of the tech overlords have one set of rules
it's
for
banned?
themselves.
No,
and-
if you type Twitter porn into search, there's a lot of Twitter porn accounts coming up. I'm not.
Okay, well that's
clicking on it.
not what we're looking.
Stay focused.
guide me.
Stay focused. Okay, we got a job.
You want to know if is porn on Twitter? Was that the question?
Is it banned?
No,
on
no,
Twitter?
no.
I think it's
I
fine
think
on
we
Twitter.
all generally
No,
agree
no, did
that
you look
it
it up?
is on Twitter.
Yes, it is in
Oh.
fact on Twitter.
The question is it against,
Is it allowed or is it against the terms?
Yeah.
is it against the terms of service?
Non-consensual nudity policy.
Well, that's like revenge porn.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
consensual
yeah.
nudity, they're okay with. Why doesn't
Yes.
Twitter block porn? I think the idea was they
If
were going
you
to
go
let
to
porn.
Twitter terms of service, it will state under this that it differentiates between consensually produced
You may
adult
you may
content
not post media that is excessively
versus-
gory or share violent or adult content within live video or in profile or header images. Media depicting sexual violence and or assault is also not permitted. So does that mean porn is banned?
Doesn't
Sounds
sound
like
like
it.
You
it.
could click
doesn't sound
more.
like it.
You could
No,
click
it's just
more,
saying that it can't be in your profile or your header.
Right, but it can be in your actual feed.
No, it doesn't even say anything about that.
I don't know. Seems like a little.
You can't advert. It,
Look
does,
up-
it does not actually.
Look up the revenge porn policy because
Well, that's obvious.
But I believe it's mentioned in there.
That was it. Yeah.
What is not a violation of the policy? Look.
Oh, I see.
Pornography and other forms of consensually
are
produced
allowed
adult
on Twitter.
content
Okay,
are
there you
allowed
go.
on Twitter.
They
Yeah.
are allowed on Twitter. All
Yeah.
right. Well, then how are they allowed in the App Store?
Yeah.
That's
That's
a
crazy.
good question, and that's something that we battled with at Minds in the
Right.
early days. Like, how do you they just know people. It's
because
like
the
you
tech
get in, you're in the
because
club.
they're out there, the oligarchs. Right, they're in the club, man.
The friends of the friends.
And you are not.
Interesting.
Ultimately,
Well,
I
man.
think all these sites should be allowed to have whatever terms they want. Expect to get banned on any of them if it's not your platform. That's one way to go about it. I don't trust any of this stuff, especially if the code's private.
Let's talk about some cultural issue here. And it's going to be a hard side. We read the story from The Independent. I think it's important to talk about. YouTuber Ethan Klein calls Joe Rogan a piece of ish for vaccine misinformation. Rogan's fan hit back after Klein calls out how podcasters' logic makes no sense.
I appreciate you bringing back ish, by the way.
Well, Luke did actually.
Oh, Luke did.
Yeah,
Oh,
It's one of my
yes.
favorite words.
All right.
I can't say much here.
It deserves.
My
to be
vocabulary
back.
has been
Yeah,
cut, and
deserves to be back.
25% of it has been cut.
So Ethan Klein, a host of H3
Luke's still working on his
podcast,
English.
I am.
hit out at podcaster Joe Rogan, saying Joe Rogan, who lives on elk meat, egg yolk, and human growth hormone with lungs full of tar, thinks he's healthier than everyone. This MFer is such a B that when he got COVID, he threw the kitchen sink at it. If you're so healthy, just write it out like you say a man should. Dude has caused so much vaccine hesitancy and misinformation, and he doesn't even have the balls to stand by the ish he preaches. Now he's on his show talking about how fat people should just die of COVID. Dude is such an effing piece of S. I have a legitimate question. It's not a dig. Is Ethan Klein saying this because he's an unhealthy, overweight individual?
Probably.
Yes.
Sounds like
And
it.
so, like, it was like when Joe Rogan was talking about being overweight and unhealthy was bad
take
for
that
you.
personally.
No, this
I
is
think people take it personally.
So if you understand sociosexual hierarchy, right? This is typical gamma male rage against an alpha male, right? This is the basic idea of, someone who's kind of at the bottom of the food chain in terms of preference, lashing out at someone who is higher up on the food chain from them. And it's very simple. You see this a lot with YouTubers, but not just YouTubers in general. That's just, they're more ubiquitous these days. You see it everywhere. You see it in real life. You see it in, office hierarchy. You see it in high schools, colleges, etc.
Political leadership, that's when it's
Political
scary.
leadership to an extent. Well, political leadership is a little bit different though, because political leadership is not conducted because of someone's health and prowess and accomplishment, right? There's all these like Byzantine rules and ways. I mean, look at we've got like the Peter Principle presidency right now. Joe Biden was not picked because he's our most competent leader, right? That's not exactly how he got there. So for Ethan Klein to lash out, it's totally in line if you understand sociosexual hierarchy. That being said, my question is, he says lungs full of tar. Is Joe Rogan a smoker? I didn't.
Wait, he
Yeah.
smokes weed, right?
yeah,
He smokes weed.
He doesn't
Yeah.
smoke cigarettes.
Cigars.
Joe,
But
Joe's
no,
a
cigarettes.
health nut.
Does he?
I don't think so.
Cigars, puffs on cigars.
Oh, that's right. That's
Cigars?
right. I'm pretty sure he does smoke cigars.
least-
But does he
Occasionally.
inhale?
I don't know.
You don't
Then how would his
really.
lungs
You're not
be-
supposed to inhale.
Yeah, obviously.
Cigars.
So how would your lungs be filled with tar then?
I don't know.
But
quite
we should
understand.
also point out that this is some of the stupidest advice given out by Ethan Klein that absolutely makes no sense. You're telling Joe Rogan not to take medicine that a doctor is telling him to take?
This is the paradox of what
Yeah.
he said. Ethan Klein is not a medical doctor. No one here is a medical doctor. No, we all have our opinions.
Luke,
but
is
Ethan,
Bill Gates a medical doctor?
No, he's not.
But Ethan Klein, to be like Joe Rogan shouldn't give medical advice. You should not listen to him. You should listen to them. It's like, bro, you shouldn't be giving medical advice either.
Yeah, he should
here's
be
a
hit
for
by
you. Wait,
YouTube
wait,
in terms of
here's a-
services
Well, it's
for
Twitter.
this.
It's not YouTube.
Look up what the medical background of the CEO of Pfizer is.
What is it?
As a
tell us.
veterinarian.
Boom.
Oh, he's a
Yeah.
veterinarian.
He's a
Yeah.
veterinarian.
Oh,
Well,
of
that's
And a
course.
fine.
salesman.
This is
A
medical
very good one.
background.
Interesting.
Joe is he's a healthy guy.
Yeah, he is.
That's just I
He
mean
looked
he is
great.
fit.
54.
I saw a Instagram video of him doing a front kick a couple days
Yeah,
ago. He
yeah,
looks like
yeah.
he was 42 years old.
Yeah,
He looks
he's,
great.
He exercises all the time. Now, you can certainly talk about your opinions on diet and whether or not eating so much red meat or whatever is good or bad.
good.
But for Ethan Klein,
It's good, by the
to
way.
paradoxically, it's actually a bit ironic, I suppose, of him to be like Joe Rogan's an idiot for saying these things when he's quite literally a podcaster saying the exact same things in the other direction. It's the same problem. Like you should not be. Though a lot of people have pointed out the goal of what he said was to generate press, and it worked. Here we
Obviously.
are talking about him.
Absolutely, yep.
Obviously.
The media's writing about him. Congratulations.
Explain to me what's wrong exactly with elk meat, egg yolks, and HGH.
Okay, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyone-
I'm
like that.
I
Like,
can tell
how
you
is he
elk
using
meat-
that as an insult?
He like wrapped
He's saying
two,
it's not
two
healthy?
nascent ones in with like a more controversial one, and it's supposedly It's like
No, I mean
HGH is somewhere like come on.
again, it's like, bro, you're on the side of GMOs. You're on this, like, you would be on the side of the Sackler family early on in the OxyContin debate when it comes to this.
Crazy.
How dare you
I
be
gotta be
against
honest.
the Sacklers?
I don't think he tweeted for attention. I think it's like people tweet because people tweet.
Oh, it's Gamma rage, dude.
No,
I 100%.
Well, sure.
He was
But what I'm saying
not
is
thinking about any of that stuff.
He's an unhealthy guy who clearly does not eat right or exercise. Joe said that's a huge comorbidity, and Ethan got upset about it and said, "Who are you to criticize me when you won't take the vaccine or whatever?"
Explain to
and then
me
tweets it
the
out.
pathology, right? And I've still been trying to actually find this one. And if anyone's in the chat who has this, because I always try to examine the various, like, there's, Dr. Mullen talked about mass formation psychoses, but there's also like narrow formation psychoses. There's all these different little bands of pathologies around in our society today, in this post-industrial society that we have. And so the interesting one that I found is, like, show me a guy who looks like Ethan Klein, who's like triple vaxxed, gigavaxxer, who's eaten Uber Eats and DoorDash all the time, and yet will scream their head off about you being unvaxxed as a threat to their health. What is the pathology there of someone who clearly has not taken one step to change their personal behavior, but will demand that you change yours?
The
in order to
CDC
protect
has
their
said
health.
around 30% of COVID hospitalizations are in the obese.
Yes.
CNN just came out with a report.
Yeah.
This is what Rogan was commenting on, that obesity is a huge contributing factor to hospitalizations and even death. I don't understand why Ethan should be mad about that. He's saying now he's on a show talking about how fat people should just die of COVID. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Joe Rogan didn't say that.
If Joe Rogan said that, that clip would be everywhere.
Right. Joe probably was like, you got to get healthy, man. Start eating better.
Hey, if we want to
taking care
talk
of
about
yourself.
national exercise, mandatory exercise,
Yeah.
10 minutes a
Mandatory
day,
morning calisthenics.
mandatory calisthenics. All right, let's go.
I see
El
Luke
Salvador.
smiling.
Let's do it.
I wouldn't do it just because the government made me do it. Even though I'm exercising right now, that's what I'm thinking about.
Luke is
right
like,
now.
Poland does not comply.
Never.
I think that Ethan wants in on the conversation. I feel like he missed the boat into the intellectual dark web because he's a smart enough guy, but his joking kind of idiocy persona thing is keeping him out of the club, and he's angry about it. Like, dude, you got to
I
be
don't even know if
serious
the
you wanna be part of the
IDW is
conversation,
like the
man.
IDW is a thing for people to like attack, but it hasn't actually been a thing for years.
Yeah,
at
just
this
the
point.
idea of like a group of really intelligent podcasting people that are communicating and have kind of a community. Ethan I think he wants in on that.
However, speaking of which, I believe both Weinstein brothers signed up for Getter.
Oh, did they?
I believe, yeah, both.
I mean,
Eric
the
and
big
Brett.
story would be Daily Mail. When services start signing up,
Yes.
it's no longer just people high-fiving each other. You can actually use the service to get
because
your news.
they've realized though that from a corporate perspective that, hey, we can make money off of this.
All right.
And that's
Yeah.
as simple as that.
And I think
once you've crossed that bridge, now you're legit.
We got to get our crew to set up that account. So we'll hit up the guys. We're actually we normally don't announce guests in advance, so I won't give any specific dates. But we're gonna have the Getter guys on the show.
Nice.
Or
Yeah, I don't have
Getter
a
guy.
specific date.
Yeah,
Cool.
we don't have a specific date.
Yeah, Luke,
to talk about all this.
keep your questions ready for those guys, man.
And in the
Grill 'em.
meantime,
Yeah, we'll bring
grill
the
'em.
heat.
Get her
Bring the
guy.
heat.
And a
start
whip.
working on advertising. 'cause
Yeah,
if you can strike up-
I don't work for those guys or anything. I like it. I get
think
a lot of
Ian will
I
have
get
the
a lot of
questions.
traffic there.
Yeah.
But
With your experience with mine,
Yeah,
definitely.
just nail them.
If you can start ringing in an advertising program and get these people paid, man, this thing's going to take off. But I
that's
want you to open source your code, and then we'll federate it.
That's the big move is I think if we start putting all the articles we write at timcast.com on Getter, then that's going to be huge for us. We're going to see way more traction because people are going to be using it, but it gives you a reason to be on Getter.
And then you can track. You can compare and contrast.
I think engagement will be massive.
I think if they,
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I've seen it. When I post to Twitter, etc., my various platforms, Getter is huge.
But
way above
if they're able to do that, but also implement transparency and accountability for a lot of their decisions, that would put them over the top because people will now know that there is some kind of accountability, some kind of responsibility on the individuals, and you will clearly know what you can and cannot say. Big tech now kind of works in this mysterious way where they let other people like Ethan Klein give medical advice and other people like congressmen and medical doctors and key innovators of the mRNA vaccine technology be censored on that platform for what?
I think this is wrong somewhat. Zap.
Dr.
Yes.
Malone,
That's cool though. You should say that to them.
PhD scientist Robert Malone banned from Twitter. Ethan Klein, dude on YouTube, not. No. And I'll even go this far to say Tim Pool, dude on YouTube, not.
Yeah.
I post so much random crackpot insanity on Twitter, and I'm like, I don't even know how I still have an account, but they banned scientists and sitting members of Congress.
That's
the
insane.
system is broken.
And again, what Ethan Klein is criticizing here is a cocktail that, according to Aaron Rodgers, who also came out and said that he reads Ayn Rand today, by the way, just another shout out here. But most importantly, what I wanted to mention here, that cocktail,
we can
according
find some
to
better literature.
don't get me started here. Most importantly, what
Yeah, 'cause
Aaron
you don't wanna
Rodgers
lose.
also said is that NFL teams are secretly using the Joe Rogan kitchen sink cocktail. So this is something that Ethan Klein is criticizing that, of course, has helped a lot of people. It helped Dana White. It helped Aaron Rodgers. It helps a lot of professional football players, according to Aaron Rodgers, within the NFL. Why are you criticizing this? How is this your attack point here?
I don't care about Aaron Rodgers' opinion. I guess you get the jersey behind him. I don't care about the NFL's opinion. I care about the fact that they were prescribed something from a doctor. So when the memes go out and they say like, oh, my doctor doesn't know anything about this, my response is always, dude, if you hired a carpenter who couldn't tell you what a tool was or what kind of wood you were using, you wouldn't hire that person. It's crazy to me that the position of, you mentioned this earlier, Ethan Klein is Rogan should not have listened to his doctor. That's insane. No, you should listen to a trusted medical professional. You get second opinion. But what is the response? Joe should have been like, Ethan Klein is right. Doc, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to listen to Ethan Klein.
Imagine Joe Rogan walking up to anybody walking up to their doctor with Ethan Klein's tweet printed out and saying, "I'm sorry, sir, but Ethan Klein, this paragon of health virtue, has told me
and
that you're
Don Lemon."
And Don Lemon,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
I actually, did I ever tell you the story when I met Don Lemon?
No.
Gosh.
Yeah, so when I was still at One American News, we bought a table at the White House Correspondents Association. Believe it was 2018. Yeah, it was right after I started. So I'm there. This was the one where they made fun of Sarah Sanders for her eyeshadow. Do you remember that? And that became a whole thing. And she was like on stage. They had this like horrible comedian. So in between, Kathy Griffin was there. I was sitting next to the table right next to me, by the way, was David Hogg. Funny enough. So our chairs were like almost like directly next to each other. It was funny. Nice. And he was kind of quiet. And so in between the different, speeches, everybody would run to the bathroom. And so, all the dudes, and you're all in tuxedos and you're waiting in line. It's a men's room, but like everybody's like kind of like a, like you recognize everybody in line, even if you don't know them, kind of situation. And then all of a sudden, Don Lemon just walks up and he goes, excuse me, I'm Don Lemon. And just pushes his way, dead serious, ahead of everybody who's in line, every correspondent, excuse me, I'm Don Lemon, excuse me. Actually saying that, excuse me, I'm Don, and then just walks right in front of the whole line.
He should have been like,
excuse me.
And
he wasn't part of the show
You should have
or
turned
anything.
and took his hand and said, oh, I'm Jack. Nice to meet you.
I'm Jack Posobiec. Great to meet you, man.
Yeah.
give him a hog, like
a
little
watch
too tight.
your show.
So what are you doing?
Watch your show. Yeah.
And then
Good
he
to
tries
see you
to be
again.
like,
And it was like,
you're introducing yourself.
It was like, and I mean, just head, not even making eye contact with anybody, just like, I'm ahead and you all
and
know
people
I'm
let
ahead.
him cut.
Every single
Let's make a
person in that
pact
line.
that none of us
I
ever
would have
become
never
like
let
that, you
that
guys.
It wasn't like he was like a host or part of the show or anything like that.
I say this all the time to people. If you are in line anywhere and cut people, they will do nothing. People do not want confrontation. You can. It's always been the craziest thing to me that people wait in lines.
I'm kind of the guy that'll say something because you're disconcerting all these people
In-
behind
I
me
say
too.
something.
I
West.
say something.
In the United States.
Yeah.
When I was in Russia, there was no line.
Although I did
Well,
see
in
someone
Russia,
cut.
the line is your elbow.
Right.
So
So
in China, the line
In
is your
China, it's
elbow.
a mad dash, and it's like a
In-
Royal
and
Rumble when you're
when
trying
I-
to get anywhere.
Those little old ladies, when you're trying to get on the subway, I'm telling you, they've got low center of gravity, and I'm telling you, they would come right up to me.
They're thick.
And they would take.
They
their
get in
thick-
there.
Yeah, they
When
would
I
take
would-
their bags and just bam.
I was
Life.
at
I'm
learning.
dead serious.
That's
I
in
was
their
at the
culture.
airport in Moscow when I was traveling. I was going from UK to Moscow to Ukraine. And in the West, when they were like, now boarding group one walks over and they get in, now boarding group 2, and then
Yeah.
group 2 gets up. In Russia, they were like, now boarding group 1, and every single person rushed full speed. It was a massive people shoulder to shoulder pushing each other out of the way. And
Yep.
I was like, all right, here we go. And then I'm used to being in these big crowds.
and if you don't
shoving
do
my
that, by the
through.
way, you're not getting on the plane.
That's right. Or you're getting on last. You're not getting
or
overhead
you
space.
might get on last.
You won't get overhead space. And so I was like, all right, if this is the game we're playing, and I just shoved through everybody and then boarded like right away. I was like, okay.
Yeah, people don't understand that the whole concept of like waiting in line and waiting your turn, that is totally a Western thing, and it's a very American thing. Outside of the country, do not exist.
Speaking of Western things, we have the story that Jack mentioned to us earlier that it's huge. This
My
is from
hometown.
the Eastern District of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Third former GlaxoSmithKline scientist pleads guilty to stealing trade secrets to benefit Chinese pharma company. Whoa. Jack, what's going on?
You've got a situation here. So GlaxoSmithKline, which has a massive facility in southeastern Pennsylvania, throughout Upper Merion. This is King of Prussia area. People don't, or Valley Forge. People, I'm sure, know Valley Forge, as well as Malvern, Pennsylvania, one of the richer areas of all of Pennsylvania. Has a bunch of facilities down there. There were Chinese scientists who were basically working for this company while also some of them working, some of them subcontracting with GSK, which is a British pharma company, by the way, that has facilities in the United States, were essentially for years stealing secrets, proprietary research from GlaxoSmithKline. The research that Upper Merion facility for Glaxo is a research and development center for them. They were stealing proprietary secrets, sending it back to China, and believe it or not, and let the theorizing fly, because in 2015, the specific thing that they were stealing secrets on was monoclonal antibodies.
No.
This is coming directly from, and we're just reading the DOJ press release on this.
Do they mention that in the press release, monoclonals?
That's where I got it from. That's the only thing I've seen on it so far.
Really?
It's like, yeah, a couple paragraphs down.
I'm looking it up. Do you know when they were invented?
Look at that. In January 2015, Lucy Shi sent Yan Mei, is that how you pronounce it, a GSK document which
Close
contained
enough.
confidential and trade secret data and information. The document provided a summary of GSK research into monoclonal antibodies at that time. In the body of the email, Lucy Shi wrote, "You need to understand it very well. It will help you in your future business."
What?
Reno Pharma.
What?
They're powerful.
Sus.
I'll put that out
Something
there.
sinister afoot.
Apparently, they've been around since 1975, doing a little research on the monoclonal antibody treatment process.
Monoclonal antibodies have been around for a long time. There's a bunch of different kinds they use for a bunch of
It's
different
really a
things.
fascinating process. I think that they start to generate some sort of cells in the mouse, and then they take those out and put them inside of a guinea pig, and then that's where they produce the antibodies.
Isn't it related to stem cells and stem cell
that, I
technology?
don't know much more about it. I was listening to Peter McCullough talking about it on Rogan's podcast. Fascinating stuff. Go watch it if you haven't seen it yet.
And that treatment now is also being denied to a lot of people because of the way that they were born, especially in places like New York, where the governor has ruled that if you're born a particular way, you can't even get some of these therapies. So
It has to be equitable.
Equitable,
Right.
which is absolutely crazy that we have a health policy run like this. But again, the United States is already very dependent on China for a lot of our medical equipment, for a lot of our drugs that are imported here. And the fact that China is still gaming the market this way, China has also tried to effectively take the tests that a lot of people take through COVID so they could also DNA harvest, according to the FBI, the general public of the United States, so they could game the big pharma market. I think China sees big pharma as a big threat, as a big institution, and they're trying to counter and become them in many instances. I think this is an example of one of those, but there's many instances when they do this.
So to break that down, right, and GSK, by the way, also has huge facilities right outside of Shanghai. I've been there when I was with the American Chamber and I was working with international business in Shanghai. So but the difference is the R&D. So you know how, like, what does it say on the back of like an Apple or an Apple iPhone? It says, designed in California, right? It usually says that, even though of course California is in the United States, but that's another story. It should say designed in the USA, but we know why they don't do that. So the R&D is typically done in the United States or somewhere in the West. But the precursors and the actual manufacturing, that's what's being done in China now. So the Chinese government, the CCP, understands that as long as you cut the proprietary information out, you're only giving us the stuff that's down the chain. We don't understand how you put it all together. We don't understand the research side of it. And so the game for these companies is to keep, it's kind of like, KFC keeps their recipe a secret, so you can tell what the ingredients are, but you don't know it all exactly the way it's done. And so the idea is for China, if they can then go and steal all the way you put it together, the same way you were just talking about the source code, you get the source code, now you can cut them out, now you can do it yourself.
So you think the Chinese spies, the spying was stealing the source code of how to produce the antibodies out of Philadelphia? That's
100%.
okay.
I think Jack is saying that you're a Chinese spy, Ian, because
Jack,
you're constantly trying to free the code.
By the way, online to everyone, because I'm not. a Chinese spy.
我们知道这个 Ian 的话，
Hey.
他就是这个密码。然后关于他的话，他的手机、他的 email address， 然后他的地址 address， 我会告诉你们，等一下告诉你们。
What?
Ian, respond.
I'm a huge fan of the Chinese, and I'm sad to see the way that the CCP has hijacked the
for
system.
sure, man. It's true.
Well, AI has been again their developments in that field is also very eye-opening. But when it comes to intellectual property, they also have stolen a lot and have been able to.
This is how you
profit
This
off
is how
that.
you leapfrog. This is how you leapfrog all that stuff. Like in Shanghai, for example, where I live. That's why I always go back to it. That they never. So remember when the United States. We went through a process with phones. You go from Edison, you go from, the original, it's sort of like a dial, and then you go to the switchboard, and then you go to rotary phones, and then eventually you get fiber optic and cellular, right? So you don't need phone lines when you build a new house anymore because nobody wants it. You might need something for internet, but you're not wiring the house anymore. Well, Shanghai never had to go through that process. They don't have wires all over the place, so they just leapfrogged it. It's the same because they were able to get the technology from us.
Right.
They learned it from us. So it's the exact same process. They're leapfrogging, and then at the same time, they've got the money and the manpower to be able to, once they get that process, once they get the source code, once they get the technology, then they can cut us out. Then eventually, think of this, right? They cut us out on that end. They already have all the precursors. Now we have to go to them.
China's the future, man.
Here's a question. If you could say there was a treatment like monoclonal antibodies and it turned out it was amazing, but there was American pharma companies trying to profit off of other stuff, but you could get the clonal antibodies super cheap from the CCP. Would you do it? Or would you boycott the CCP and
No, but Ian, we already are.
That's crazy.
That's what Luke's saying, is that all of this stuff already comes through the CCP. Like, this isn't some new thing, right? It's that our companies, our Wall Street firms, our Silicon Valley firms have all made deals with the CCP to get their manufacturing, to get their slave labor. Elon Musk just opened a Tesla facility in Xinjiang. Right, in Xinjiang, China. Elon Musk, who on his Weibo page praises the CCP for their 100 years of glory and all. Like, I get what he does, right? He goes to the U.S. and he says what he wants, what they want to hear. He goes to Europe, he goes to China. Like, I like, it's not hard to figure that out. But understand what's going on here, right? There's the higher level, there's the overworld, and then there's the stuff that we can see down here.
It's all a big joke.
I want to double check. You guys know Ben Goertzel? You familiar with his work? He's like the preeminent artificial intelligence scientist on Earth.
I've heard the name, yeah.
I think he's in China. Let me double check this. Andreas told me he lives in China. Why would he be in China? That's my question.
Because he wants to be on the cutting
Well, there's
edge.
also no kind of regulations, and the government allows private enterprise, which they essentially control in many aspects, to do whatever they want. This is why Dr. Fauci allowed dangerous, gain-of-function research to be done in China and not in the United States, because he couldn't do it in the United States because of all the rules and regulations.
At this point,
he could have done it with China if he gave China the source code and the information of what they were working on.
At this point, the conspiracy theorists have been right so often. I'm ready to just be like, Alex, just give me the list and we'll just.
They're not conspiracy theorists. They're spoiler alerts.
Yeah.
You got to understand that. That's the new word.
I like the meme where it's like 2020 or it's like 2020 conspiracy theorist, 2021 conspiracy analyst, and it's like a picture of the first guy is like just like wearing regular clothes, second one's wearing a suit.
Well, you saw somebody made a meme already going back to Ethan Klein of that. They put health expert Ethan Klein, conspiracy theorist Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan's all ripped.
He's like all
and
ripped.
Ethan's
and
all like morbidly obese.
And just like morbidly obese, hooked up to his Oculus. No, but this is, this is like this.
Was that he was wearing the Oculus?
He's not, but he
That would
should
be
be.
a good
If I were making the meme, he would be, because that would just take it to the next level.
Absolutely.
I mean, again, this is what they want. They want you to say, "Oh, who's playing in Metaverse tonight? Who's doing that?" And then you get distracted by that. Meanwhile, you're missing the entire, like, talk about the way they want you worried about the wage gap, right? Between the quote unquote wage gap between men and women. So you're not talking about the wage gap that Luke is talking about between the oligarchs and everybody else, right? So they pit you against each other. So against left and right, male, female, ethnic, different, racial stuff that they want to get you all divided on, so that you're not looking against the up down axis at all.
It's been that way forever
for all of human history, literally.
Right, and this big split with like CRT happened. A big fissure moment was Occupy Wall Street. There's that famous cartoon where it's all the people protesting saying we're the 99%, and then the rich guy's in the room and he says, Introduce them to identity politics.
And we might get into this later, but I told Lydia I was going to bring it up. I have a jump off point, so I'm going with it. We at Human Events, we found a Tumblr post by 12 Clara, who is a user there, who basically admitted that Glee, the TV show, was the plague ship for wokeness into the American mainstream.
What?
The TV show
Plague
Glee
ship
was the plague ship. This user now, 12 Clara, was one of like the leaders of the Glee online fandom on Tumblr. This post she wrote, which is basically like an epitaph to all of that, is admitting all of this. Where do you guys think the word problematic came from? Where do you guys think that the idea of the representation anger, do we have a character who fits this demographic, that demographic? Do you have a character who's this, who's that, right? That all comes, from Glee and from the original Glee fandom. And then the wars, because people get mad about it, arise from this idea of people becoming not just sympathetic for the characters, but actually empathetic by actually viewing the television character as a mirror image of themselves, where it's not only identity politics from the sense of racial and gender, but identity politics from the idea of I identify with a TV character. Because, and don't get me wrong, I love the work that Chris Rofo and James Lindsay have done tracking this stuff academically, but people have not tracked the pop culture history of wokeness to explain why it came about. And if you look at the history of Glee and Occupy Wall Street, that sort of, middle 2010s milieu, and people don't realize
social media,
that show hitting social media pre-Netflix, right? All of these things hitting at the same time just launched all of this stuff into the stratosphere.
But I think social media is the biggest driver of all of it. I think Glee played a role in pop culture, but I think it's part. When did Glee come out? Do you know what year?
It starts 2009.
Yeah.
And then it got big in 2011 is when it got big. The exact beginning of Twitter and Tumblr. But
I still think it's social media.
No, but that's what I'm saying though. It's the combination of social media with these TV shows that are introducing people at the first time.
It's not academia. I think.
And I agree with you on that.
Yeah, Peter Boghossian and I have debated
this stuff may have originated there in some sense, but these guys nobody on Tumblr is going and reading these academic papers.
It's not
from the
that.
1980s.
It's that when at universities, there's a bunch of different ideologies.
Correct.
There's critical race theory.
Well, there used to be.
There used to be, but this is the one ideology, critical race theory, that comes out and expands, and it's because intersectionality was social media was a prime vector for stuffing keywords into articles. So you can say, trans women of color experiencing police brutality is the epitome of Black Lives Matter, and you fit every single keyword, you get more views, and thus critical race theory starts becoming more and more prominent. There you go. Simple version.
I don't see this. I don't see this as necessarily being in conjunction with that or in contrast to that. What I'm saying is you got to read this post, right? It's just amazing what she lays out, where she's
you have
like,
it on Twitter or something?
we have the whole thing everywhere, right? Lydia, I think I sent you the one.
Well, the Post Millennial did.
Yeah, the Post Millennial did.
Yeah.
So our version is like super long and gets into like a ton of different things. They went in and did basically a summary where we just post her Tumblr post.
Do you know when they posted it?
In 2017.
I like how you
the Post Millennial posted that?
No, the Post Millennial posted it today.
Oh, okay. Where? Do you know the title? What it's called?
It is. I think if you look up Glee, it'll probably come up.
I like how you mentioned the psychosis that can come from identifying with a TV character, which isn't a real person.
Exactly.
And
And
see
this
these
is
things
where
like, which Game of Thrones character are you? Which
Right.
Glee character are you? And I see
Exactly.
these people like,
So the popularity of those shows plus intersectionality, hitting identity politics and social media at the same time. This was a TV show, by the way, that was getting 30 million people in ratings at one point. Right. This is a massive cultural
Here's
force.
a story from Post Millennial. Entertainment consultant admits Glee sparked the woke movement within the U.S.
Oh, did I mention that, by the way? The Tumblr user, 12 Clara, did an interview with Salon where she kind of like quasi outed herself in terms of real name and said, oh, by the way, my real name is Erin. What do you do now? I work as a Hollywood entertainment consultant.
Wow.
nice.
Of course. They all come from Tumblr.
So were they consulted at the time?
No. So when they were on Tumblr and involved in like the toxic Glee fandom, no. Right there. The Glee fandom is not history. It's blood. I still see it all over this website. The vague posts, the deactivated URLs. Where do you think the word problematic became popular? Where do you think the representational anger? Glee was the hungry, gaping void that consumed us all. It said watch us and find yourself. Wow. There's something from everyone, and there's characters lesbian, characters gay, characters bisexual, etc., etc., etc. It goes on and on and on. And it said this is your only outlet for body positivity. We are all oppressed by something, but we are different and we are outcast and we are you.
Everyone's oppressed so long as you agree with them.
Exactly.
If you challenge it and say an individual can be strong, they say no, because I think it's really simple.
Well, and this
telling
is
an individual telling an individual they're strong breaks their collectivism. Telling an individual they're weak and oppressed means you have to be a part of the collective, otherwise you'll be victimized.
Well, and this is amazing because it's like the show portrays all the protagonists of the show, and we do mention, of course, the Glee curse, and we get into that as well a little bit, but it portrays all of the main characters as victimized and oppressed and all of this when you've got the captain of the football team, the captain of the cheerleading squad. You know, these people, they're all gorgeous. They're great singers. They're putting on, like, somehow they're able to do Broadway level productions at like some random high school in Ohio. And they seem to be quite popular across stage and screen in universe, right? In the show. And yet they're told that they are victimized and oppressed. And then they wear that as the badge of honor. This, I'm telling you, that audience that came up watching this show and then the other shows that spun off of it, this was one of the biggest plague ships of wokeness into the mainstream. The plague ship.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like, I'm not saying this is like, and people were trying to flame the comments, when I posted on Twitter today. They said, Posobiec, this isn't the very first place that we saw political correctness. Wasn't. I was like, guys, I'm not saying that. I'm saying this was one of the biggest vectors, but because the later seasons of it sucked, and because of the Glee curse, horrific
What's
things.
The Glee curse?
The fact that three of the main actors are now deceased.
Whoa! What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, seriously. So Corey Monteith dies first. He was the original main character
Right.
And what
of
happened?
the show. He ODs 2013.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
During the show's course.
Yeah.
So he OD'd, and this was the captain of the football team character who ODs. Then what happened to Mark Salling, right?
No, I don't watch Glee. I don't know who these people are.
The huge story though. So I think it was while the show was wrapping up, he gets busted for child porn.
Whoa!
Oof,
And
yikes.
this was sort of like the bad guy. So he was sort of like the foil for the main football player. He was like, the tight end or something on the team, but he was like the bad boy who cheated on the cheerleader with him and everything. And he gets busted for child porn, gets arrested, later hangs himself.
Wow!
Yeah. And then the other cheerleader, not the captain, but Santana.
She drowned.
And this is legitimate tragedy. This is just a real tragedy. Just last year, she drowned in a lake outside of Los Angeles while trying to save her 4-year-old son. Their boat had capsized or something.
Yeah.
So sad.
And she gets her son back in. They find the son later on alone and have no idea where the mother is. They find her body, later on, in another part of the lake.
Brutal, man.
Yeah.
But
So,
you know,
just this crazy
curse.
They call it like the Glee curse.
Do you think that it was
But I'm saying my contention is that, and as horrific as all those things are, my contention is the fact that Glee isn't in the discourse as much anymore is because people talk about it in terms of this curse, but they also totally overlook the fact that it was the plague ship that introduced a lot of wokeness to a huge broad swath, particularly of millennials who are watching this thing. Because remember, we know they weren't working in 2009, right? Nobody's got jobs. Everybody's, maybe going into more debt while they're working on their masters, and they're starting to sign up to Twitter. They're starting to sign up to Tumblr. And what are they talking about? They're talking about Glee.
and they would have been 10 and 12
Crazy.
years old. Now they're 23. Do you think that it was intentionally produced that way to do that, or just more like this is how these people happen to feel like victims and they wrote a show about
So
it?
we researched this, and then I didn't write the piece, but I did edit it. And one thing that we do track is that when the show was originally written, it was actually kind of like a parody, right? Sort of a parody of like High School Musical, and it was satirical. It was actually kind of tongue in cheek, and it was meant to be self-aware. And it was the fandom that turned it into that. So when the fandom became so incredibly tribal about, I demand that my character that I identify with go through these, aspects, or the whole idea of, if you know anything about fan culture, shipping, right? Do you guys know shipping?
Yeah,
No, what is it?
relationships.
Oh man. So, okay. Lydia, what is shipping?
So shipping is basically where you like create this mindset where these people that you see in the show are in a relationship. It's basically
Oh.
it, right? It's like a fan.
Right, or so you want the characters to be in a relationship, but then in some aspects of some fandoms, it gets so bad that you actually start making up these like conspiracies that the actors themselves are also secretly in a relationship. They did this, by the way, with the Star Wars movies, the Disney Star Wars movies. They called themselves Reylos, right? And dead serious. And the Reylos all believed that Adam Driver and what's the girl's name?
Daisy.
Daisy
yeah.
Ripley were in a secret relationship. They started harassing Adam Driver's actual wife in real life because,
weird.
again, the parasocial relationship went beyond, right? So you've got an empathetic media mass psychosis, formation going on where they have an insatiable urge for their false reality, or what we might call it a metaverse reality, to come in and actually take the form in the real world, to the point where the fact that Adam Driver is actually married to someone separate and that he's a real person who's, I'm sure he's in love with his wife. That's why he married her. That she needs to be removed from the story because that does not satisfy the beliefs of the Reylos.
Dude, what are humans?
I know, right?
Hell are we doing?
Yeah, I know, right? And it's amazing and it's wild, and unfortunately it's all true. And the fact that people overlook this influence, the toxic influence, and you could look at other shows the reason that I'm kind of halfway into this stuff is because I originally started my Twitter account and blog in 2012 to make fun of the Game of Thrones TV show. And so I sort of came up online through that, and then eventually got into making fun of politics, and here I am. But I remember that the Game of Thrones online fandom was just as bad, but it wasn't as big as Glee was at the time. But it was ridiculous. And I remember, I got kicked out of the DC Game of Thrones book club because, I remember saying I thought it was funny that people were pirating all the episodes, and so HBO wasn't getting any of the money. And these people lost their minds. They completely lost their mind. I got banned from the Game of Thrones Reddit. I got banned from all these different things because I didn't have these types of false empathetic media relationships, whereas other people were literally they could not separate themselves from that false reality. And I think, by the way, the most ubiquitous one of these of all, the reason I don't mention it in terms of wokeness is because it's not particularly woke, though, is Harry Potter, right?
Oh, yeah.
And there is a reason that every aging childless millennial will always use Harry Potter as their frame of reference for literally everything.
There was this creepy post on Reddit where this teenage girl was like, my parents named me after a Harry Potter character and my brother after a Star Wars character. They're obsessed with it. We hate it. We hate all of it. We get made fun of. Millennials, man. How about we do this? How about we go to Super Chats?
I'm sorry, kid.
Already.
Children of millennials, I'm sorry.
It's gonna be
Smash
an
that
adventure.
like button. Subscribe.
Except for my children, of course.
Subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, go to
Who are all named
timcast.com,
after
become
Game
a
of Thrones
member,
characters.
and we're going to have a members only segment coming up for you guys at around 11 or so p.m. It's again at timcast.com. Become a member. As a member, you're helping support our fierce and independent journalism, and you're helping support this show. But don't forget to like the like smash. That's what I wrote in the pinned comment. I got messages from people. Because the other day I put smash the smash like, and I actually got a bunch of emails. They were like, hey, just want to let you know you made a mistake. And I was like, it's completely intentional. All right, let's see what we got here. Seth Booze says, Tim, I know it's early, but since you have Poso, you asked when the last time a new Christmas song was written. Sabaton wrote Christmas Truce. Check it out.
Christmas Truce is excellent. I love that song.
Really? I've not heard it.
So it's well, so Sabaton always, not always, but they do now. They write power metal songs about actual military history and actual battles.
Cool.
And so, but in Christmas Truce, of course, that's not a battle. That was the armistice that was held on Christmas Day between the French and the German soldiers, and they played a game of soccer across the trenches.
Yes. Yeah, cool story. Alex Tamayo says, hey, Tim, I'm a video game artist. I'm going to be fired soon for not getting the procedure. I sent an email to Jobs in April, but no reply. Happy to send another one if you'd like. Hi, Post. I'm a big fan. Let me write down your name because actually I think we need a video game artist.
You can send it to Spin the UFO. You can pass it on.
I will write down your name, send an email to spintheufo@gmail.com, right?
Yeah, what's his name?
Alex Tamayo.
Perfect. I'll look for that.
And then, we'll take a look at your samples. And we do need a video game artist. I believe we do. We have a couple projects in the works, and so we could definitely use that assistance. Dragon Audiobook says, my name is Marco. I make audiobooks like Founders Keep, an epic fantasy fiction story with dragons, magic, and adventure. Oh, that's very cool.
Sounds awesome.
All right, let's see where we are at. Some people saying, welcome back, Ian.
Hi, everyone.
Waffle Sensei, Ian, welcome back. You look good, bro. Nice shave. We love you.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, what were you doing? Where were you?
I went to Ohio for about 10 days, spent some time with family and friends. That was incredible. I went out to Washington State with a friend of mine. I microdosed on some mushrooms and saw the world clearly. It was absolutely wonderful. And spent a lot of time watching fractal geometric patterns like the 64 tetrahedron, the flower of life. Highly recommend looking into it. Thanks for asking, Tim.
All right. Ghost Crusader says, Ian is correct. At the end of the Langoliers, they run down the terminal holding hands and jump in the air to a freeze frame.
Lock it in. Yo,
I didn't realize Stephen King did the
miniseries?
No. Did the what you call it? The 16 Candles. Who did 16 Candles?
John Hughes.
John Hughes. Yeah, the John Hughes ending.
Oh, yeah.
It's really funny.
Well, the 80s John Hughes. Yeah.
Right,
Later John
yeah.
Hughes got away from that stuff. There's in Ready Player 2, there's a whole John Hughes planet inside the Oasis.
You know, I would love to. It's someday in the future. Let's have a psychedelic expert on, because my experience with mushrooms. I mean, and it's
Graham Hancock.
Oh, we'll do it.
Get Graham Hancock.
largest organism in the world is that mycelial net under Earth. It's fascinating creatures.
McKenna would also be good. I interviewed him before.
Oh, Terrence McKenna. Yeah,
Here's,
he's the other one.
here's a good one. The Grim Truth says, I feel about Ian as I feel about graphene. I don't know what either does, but I like it.
You're a beautiful
Great.
soul. I love you. I love you.
I love.
right.
By the way, one thing when I'm talking to like other like political type people in DC and about Tim Pool, they're like, yeah, I like Tim. I like, but there's this Ian guy. They're like, I don't quite get what he is. I'm like, well, exactly.
I was talking to Michael, and he was like, it took me a minute to figure out what Ian brought to the show, but now I get it.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, cool.
I also
Ian is the perfect foil for Tim.
I left for 2 weeks. I was like, let's just give it some time. You know, love. What do they say? Time heals all wounds.
Yes,
Give it some space, Crossland.
All right. Scotty says, how do you think the Supreme Court will rule on the stay request for the vaccine mandates this Friday?
Well, keep in mind that stay requests don't necessarily mean the final ruling, right? That's just the emergency injunction. And so unless I'm not tracking on something, that I think this is just the emergency injunction. And typically we've seen that this Supreme Court, now it depends, it's not the entire court that'll rule on it. It's just like which panel of judges that you draw. So I think it's 3 that they have not been ruling on. They have not been continuing stays. So they've been allowing the states to be able to run as they see fit, and then waiting for a full hearing.
All right. Beefy says, Getter just blocked Tommy Robinson's movie trailer called The Rape of Britain. So they're censoring as well. Thoughts? Keep it the good work.
That's usually how it starts, is with white, the supremic content. Like, it's okay to be with all that white stuff. That's because it's legal.
I don't think that's what Tommy Robinson.
Isn't he like a white?
I don't think that's what the documentary is about.
I'd have to check that out, because I
associate
remember that seeing a lot of promotion for that on Getter recently, and so it would surprise me that they, I'd have to look at the specifics.
Yeah, Tommy Robinson's documentary, I haven't seen the trailer. It's about grooming gangs.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I hope it's not the kind of thing where
that's been his whole career, basically.
Right.
When they target a person, like I was always of the ilk
17.
that if someone violates content, you ban that account. But if they make a new account and they choose not to violate the content anymore, then they're in the clear. As opposed to looking at Tommy and like wherever he is, let's just try and whack a mole Tommy. It doesn't make any. That's not social. It's antisocial.
It's political, man. All right. Nate Carpenter says, do you think that these special ops people killed the lady on January 6th? Only person dead, and we don't know who killed her. That's not true, though. We do know. We do know the guy's name now, don't we? I don't want to say it because, I'm not sure.
No, but I mean, he was on 60 Minutes, I believe. He was on ABC.
All right, well, there you go. You can say his name.
He's come public. Lieutenant, I can't think of his name. I was talking about. He's a lieutenant, though. The U.S. Capitol Police, and he's come public. Someone can remind me.
Yeah, he's the guy that previously left a firearm.
He left a firearm
in a public
place,
and was reprimanded.
And it was
for that.
the interview was horrific, by the way. Like, they had to help him through the interview, and he was basically, I mean, he was saying stuff about like, I had to do that. She was going to kill Mike Pence. She was going to do all this stuff that he couldn't possibly know by looking at her, and that he couldn't possibly. Now he could say, he could have said a number of things, but the stuff that he was saying in this interview, it made him look horrific. It made him look really bad.
We got a super chat from John Paul Diodati. He says, "Hey Tim, I'm also a 3D artist and would love to support the cause. YouTube name is accurate. We also send an email to spintheufo@gmail.com with your name, and we'll get back to you because we could use a 3D artist as well, but probably more for like 3D printing, resin, and ABS and things like that. But we'll take a look and we'll see what's going on.
Did you guys see Tommy Robinson's car blown up outside Telford Hotel 8 hours ago?
Yeah, I think we have an article on that.
So you think do you think he's being targeted because of this documentary he did?
Yo, they've been going after this guy relentlessly.
I mean, they've been targeting Tommy
Crazy.
for years. Yeah,
man,
in and out of jail and all the rest of it.
Just and it's like
they locked him up for reporting on the case.
Yep.
Of the grooming guy.
It was like they were about to issue a verdict or something, and he's outside the courtroom like, "Oh, you're interfering with the trial, so you're under arrest."
I remember that video, by the way. He was filming himself.
Yeah.
And he was talking. I believe it was Facebook, and he was just talking to his phone. And
they
then
are out
arrested
for
him
that, dude, man. That's crazy. All right, Omega says, Tim, there is no such thing as establishment left. Right means establishment, and left means counter-establishment. I cringe every time. That is not true. That is completely wrong.
Someone's living in the 1950s.
Yeah, seriously. No, you are incorrect, sir. With all due respect, I appreciate the super chat, but you are wrong.
This is why, by the way, every remake of Footloose will feature a Christian pastor. Right, even though we know that in the 1980s, Christian pastors may, over some small towns of America, wielded that amount of control. The plot of Footloose is that they're not allowed to, have rock
dancing
music
is forbidden.
and dancing is forbidden in the town, and so they have to go just outside the town limits to hold the prom, and Kevin Bacon's there. Kevin Bacon's there. And so the Christian right hasn't had that power in the United States for decades, right? The left has been ascendant by and far, but it is completely the origin story and ethos of the left to, as your commenter just stated, to be, we are the counter-revolutionaries, we are the rebel alliance, we are the ones who are fighting against you, when they don't realize they won years ago. They are the
establishment.
You are the empire now.
But the point is,
this is your music video.
Yeah, well, language is just how we describe concepts and ideas. You're not going to convince. You're not going to be speaking English if you call Hassan, right wing. They're going to be like, what? Like, well, he's right wing because he is establishment and he supports establishment narratives and big corporations. So he's inherently right wing. It's nonsensical. Like when Vosh says Tim Pool's a conservative, anybody who knows anything about conservatives,
establishments change.
That's literally not true. Like that makes no sense.
Establishments change.
Left and right mean many different things. There's the economic scale, where left is cooperative systems and right is competitive systems. And then you have the cultural scale, where far right means traditionalism and far left means progressivism. And then there is the revolutionary scale, which is the left were revolutionary and the right were status quo. It means a variety of different things. So there you go.
You also have the libertarians would describe it as totalitarian versus anarchism.
Right.
Yeah, the up and the down.
There's a bunch of different ways.
There's so many different ways you could go.
All right, we got another one. We got another semantic statement. Dan says, stop using the word liberal to refer to the Democrats. That word has a root in the Latin word for freedom, and the Democrats are not for anything about freedom. We need to take that word back. Crackpot authoritarian?
Liberalists.
That's why I can't stand when people say liberalism.
Yeah.
So the idea of being able to take words back, I think, doesn't work. I think the way that but when a new term is placed into the discourse, it actually becomes a jump ball, and the people who can run to that one the fastest are the ones who then claim it. So the perfect edition of this. There's two, actually, that I can think of recently in the sort of linguistic warfare that's out there. Number one is fake news. The term fake news was not created by Donald Trump or anyone on the right. It's created by the Washington Post.
Yep.
And, a sort of milieu of left-wing journalists who were using it to describe people who were posting stuff online, like Luke or myself or Tim or basically everyone in this room during the election. They said, you are fake news. Then the right stole that, and basically independents stole that and used it on essentially mainstream media for the remainder of history, and they've been destroyed. The other one is Let's Go Brandon.
Yeah.
Right? As silly as it is, this was not something that was created by the right. And I think it's so hilarious every time I see people try to say this. No, it was created by an NBC reporter.
Right. All right. Matthew says, hey, y'all, trying to escape the Oregon regime. VA, MT, or TX. Wife cannot finish her degree in education without the jab. I need a decent paying state for teaching and agriculture irrigation work. Love y'all. PSF Fauci. Yeah, what do you think? Which state? Is that, was it Vermont, Montana, or Texas?
Well, not Vermont.
No, that's not
you'd be
Vermont.
crazy.
Virginia.
No,
Sorry,
Virginia. Yeah, Vermont's the number one
VT.
most vaccinated state. VA
wow.
would be Virginia. Yeah.
Right, Virginia. I wouldn't go to Virginia.
No,
We're
Montana, maybe Montana, Idaho.
yeah. The challenge. So when we were looking at places to set up, the first place I looked was Montana and Wyoming.
Yeah.
The problem is infrastructure, and so
Yes.
if you get an airport, we can fly people wherever. It's if you live in a city,
that's the plot of Yellowstone, or it was
What
the
is it?
plot. It was the plot of Yellowstone.
they go out to build a company in Wyoming,
Montana.
Montana.
Yeah.
But what kind of company?
Well, it's so it's done from the perspective of a rancher who's fighting against all the people
Oh.
trying to, and the rancher is
I heard it's really good.
it was until this last season.
Oh.
It just goes off the rails, totally off the rails.
All right. Well, I was gonna watch it.
Kevin Costner's the lead, but it's
so we-
really good until this.
It's actually fairly expensive. It's not as cheap as people think. West Virginia is. I think West Virginia was better. That's why we chose it, because there's big plots of land for low cost and infrastructure is right there. Now, we had to get the cable lines installed, the fiber optic, and that was really expensive.
Yeah.
So they came and actually laid down the line, buried it, and then had to connect it to the house, which is we had to hire a second company to do it. Took like 4 months or whatever.
More here at this place.
Yeah.
Mind if-
That was
you mind if I
incredible.
ask? And it's
Yeah, it was
and I
wild.
understand if you can't say, but did the state offer you anything for that? Because
We didn't ask them.
Oh, but
No.
I mean, they knew you were setting up a shop here, setting up a business as a business
we didn't.
owner.
Well, no one came and talked to us, and we didn't talk to anybody.
Right, because in other states, by the
West
way,
Virginia, though.
they will offer in other states they will offer. Oh, right. They will offer tax credits, but only if you go in cities, right? Because they want to build up the cities.
Right.
If you're out and we were up in Alaska, and I was talking to a microbrewery about this that was out, sort of in one of the more touristy areas, and they were saying he's like, they don't give me anything, man. The state, they'll give me, and the federal government will give me all these subsidies if I go and link in the grid and make the city bigger. But if I say, no, I want to run my business out here in a rural area because I love this area and I love serving these people, I'm on my own.
I wonder if
I got to pay full freight.
If the governor of West Virginia would work with us to build like an off-grid, on-grid hybrid setup where we can shut off free Damastan to the grid and then put it back on. The grid.
We should actually probably
Art Bell
reach
did
out.
that.
If you guys listening know anybody who works in West Virginia, we're near Harper's Ferry. So I don't want to give out too much because we're currently doing construction, but we have free Damastan. We bought a big plot, it's like 50 acres, and maybe there's something we can do, because one of the reasons I want to right now, this facility we're in is in Maryland. We're on the border, and then I live in West Virginia. But we're gonna set up our main big hub in West
Proud
Virginia.
West Virginian Tim Pool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Proud West
Never
Virginia.
thought I'd live in that state, but it's opportunity. There's a ton of opportunity there, and I don't think Florida. I think Florida has freedom. I think Texas has freedom, but I don't think they have as much opportunity because they're both very overdeveloped. New Hampshire's pretty good. Weather could be an issue, and so we ultimately settled on West Virginia. And even in the Panhandle, there's a bunch of opportunities.
Did you definitely want to be East Coast?
No, we were looking at Wyoming and Montana.
Okay.
But infrastructure was a huge problem.
Yeah.
So I was like, in the middle of nowhere, extremely expensive internet, few roads. If we did do it, setting up there, we'd have to fly people in and have a guest house for them instead of a hotel or something, depending on where we were. And then just internet in general was very difficult. Now with Starlink coming out,
I was going to say
this could change.
Starlink would change that. Yeah.
But they're delayed. We were supposed to have Starlink already, and they're like, we'll get it to you at some point next year. So, but now we've got like three different internet lines.
Elon's too busy opening up factories in Xinjiang.
We got a new building being built, 7,500 square feet, 3 stories. This is going to be insane. So it's 7,500 square feet total space, but then we're building internal structures in a portion of it for the new studio. It's going to be amazing. The designs are insane, and we're going to be hiring more people, doing more work, doing more production. And I think that's going to be a huge opportunity for the people who are near us in West Virginia for work. It'll build up the economy. Maybe we should reach out to see.
That being said, there's a little beef between me and Tim that I should probably mention before we get done here. And speaking of building new facilities, because I would have loved to show you the new facilities at Turning Point USA out in Phoenix.
Oh, that's
when
right.
we had America Fest with 10,000 screaming patriots,
crazy. It's huge.
who came out. I don't know if you saw the videos of that thing. That's where I was for 10 days out in Phoenix, dude. There's 3 buildings already right now out there for Turning Point, and they are expanding.
Wow.
And
That's cool.
So they got a campus.
it's a campus. Yeah, it's essentially a campus.
Well, we're going to do that here in West Virginia.
And so we should compare notes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we're gonna have
Zip line.
Yeah, no, we are inside the building.
Oh, I meant from here to Turning Point.
Well,
Oh,
what
that's
I
pretty
what
far
I
zip
want,
line.
well, what I
One
want,
day.
no,
You
a
get to be in,
turning
like,
point,
outer space.
what Turning
Zip line.
Point should do, because the buildings are actually in pretty close proximity. We should have building to building zip lines. You don't have to go downstairs and walk across the parking lot.
Perfect.
We're gonna have the studio is gonna be in the second floor as like its own unique structure, and the whole back wall. So like for you guys that are watching, when you're seeing Jack, it's gonna be glass, and you're gonna look and you're gonna be able to see the whole production facility.
I want to be like a giant wall of TVs, and I'm just on that wall all the time.
outside, looking down on
right,
people,
just
and
looking
pointing
down
at
on
them.
people.
All right. But we'll have more on that.
in the space.
We think this might be up and running within 6 months.
You want to do
So,
one,
How many words per minute are you typing there, Bob?
one-way glass so we can see past
No.
Jack
People can watch in.
Oh,
People
cool.
can look in and see the show.
We actually used to have that at Navy Intel. We had like the control room that was above, and then you would have a map of the world was behind you, and then any incidents or if something was going on, that would flash up on the
Oh, that's
world
cool.
map, and you could, and then whoever was running it, whoever's like the officer of the deck, or if the captain was around, the CO, you could say, hey, zoom in on that, and then that would blow
That'd be cool
up.
if Tim was like,
Yeah.
this coming in from New Mexico, and it like zooms to the thing, and then it like zooms in, and the story comes up as he's explaining.
on the glass.
That's exactly.
Well, we're not there yet.
I'm
so
just saying.
It's
We're
getting there,
expensive.
we're getting there.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
let's read some more. We got Tom Bear says, how about CERN getting fired up in March at 3 times power?
Get ready for the reality shift, folks. It is coming. We lost Harambe last time. Let's see what happened. We lost Harambe. We lost Berenstein. Berenstein. It's now
Yeah.
Berenstein. We
Ian's-
lost.
You're gonna be watching the show, and the next day, Ian's gonna be super ripped and like 3 feet taller.
It's not a
right.
joke either.
No joke. His hair's gonna be short, and he's gonna be like, "Yo, I'm Ian."
Langoliers.
Carrot Top Ian.
Carrot Top
Full
Ian.
carrot top.
That is crazy. Carrot Top. Was he always ripped like that?
No. That's what's crazy about it.
He went through a phase.
He normally looked like Ian.
He was just on Rogan. He said he was in Vegas working and he had everything taken care of, so he just went nuts and started working out 3 hours a day.
Good for him.
There you go.
Wow.
Jacked.
That's what some people in prison do. That
Yeah.
That's what the entertainment industry is like.
pretty much.
All right, let's grab some super chats. Fisheye Studio says, has anyone noticed Luke enunciates his words very thoroughly, such as against? He hangs on to the st all the way through. Admirable. But I notice he flies through his words in Polish. Love you, Luke.
Okay.
That's ESL, folks. That's ESL.
Luke, you worked out today. You were saying before the show.
We got a kickboxer trainer here, and it was exhausting. So I'm obliterated. I'm tired. I'm exhausted.
Wild.
But it's
Working on the high kick.
a lot of different things. Yeah.
Don't you mean a lot of different things?
I'll talk how I want. Okay.
All right, NT
we're all
says,
going to West Virginia now.
Ian makes the show 10 times better.
Love you, dude.
Well, there you go.
That's one magnitude.
Oh, I love you on the show.
Michael Scott Matthews says, is giving children Harry Potter names any less cringe than giving children Bible names? Both works of fiction.
Spicy.
Yeah, cringe comment. Very cringe comment.
Very indeed.
Let's see. The basis
So
of
edgy.
all of Western civilization versus a book about some kids that go to magic school.
Seems roughly equivalent.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, where are we at? I don't know why this matters, but Rex says Jon Snow and Ygritte are married in real life.
That makes me so
Are
happy.
they still married?
Oh, are they?
I think so.
I know they got.
Rose.
I know they got married.
Oh, is that a reference to
It's a Game of Thrones
Peter
reference.
Dinklage? Because Peter Dinklage said they wanted the pretty white people to...
Oh.
Did he say that?
He said people hated it because they wanted the pretty white people to like flee together or something like that. I don't know, something stupid.
I didn't say Peter Dinklage. I've heard that Peter Dinklage is just a complete jerk in real life.
That was a beautiful love story, those two. Like, you could see them falling in love while they were working together. I thought. It's every once in a while you see actors that happens with a couple actors.
Kid.
They lose it, man.
I hope
What's the
they
guy's name? Oh, Kid Harington. Yeah. I don't know anything.
I don't know anything.
Mum-
All right.
mumbling
Kamikaze
instead of
says,
acting.
thanks for the great show, Timcast and Poso. NASCAR just removed a Let's Go Brandon sponsorship for this year. You guys should contact Brandon Brown and support his team in these trying times.
Support Brandon, man.
They're canceling him over something someone else
It's
said.
good-
And
good
That's
ev-
pathetic.
No, it's because the Let's Go Brandon coin was going to come in, and then because he wasn't able to get sponsorships.
Right, that's what
and
I'm
then
saying.
so
They're canceling.
they're canceling the sponsorship
they-
of Let's Go Brandon.
He got canceled because of
Right.
the meme. So
Right.
then he's like, okay, I'll take this sponsor. Let's go Brandon coin. And then they're like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah,
That's
NASCAR
crazy.
NASCAR has right of refusal on all sponsorships. So like you can't have like, they could, for like adult stuff or they have their terms of service as well. But no, that's clearly clearly politicizing. But if this was, by the way, if this was left wing, anything left wing that was coming in, NASCAR would let that in 100%.
Like a BLM coin.
All right.
Exactly.
Strider says, I work at Kohl's. Today they announced they will be following OSHA's ETS, which requires you to reveal vaccination status and start weekly testing. Supreme Court is hearing arguments against this on the 7th of January. Tyranny. I heard that Starbucks was going to be mandating all of their employees.
I heard that too.
And I was kind of wondering, like, how many employees do you think a Starbucks has?
40?
16? Oh, 40?
40?
I don't know.
You guys agree? 40?
Shits.
I don't know.
What, million?
No. One Starbucks location.
Or just one Starbucks?
16, final answer.
16?
30.
30?
30.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, I wonder how much they make. And if I can go to the local Starbucks out here and be like, anybody who doesn't want to get the vaccine is going to be fired, I will hire you right now.
We need baristas.
No, not even. I just be like, I'll hire you at the same hourly rate and we'll give you a guaranteed 40 hours a week. And you can just, I don't know, hold a sign saying,
Fired from Starbucks.
Fired from Starbucks. And like, I'll give you
pure blood.
guaranteed year of work or whatever.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way to do that ethically. Give them
What's-
something
how
to
is that-
do.
What's unethical
yeah.
about that?
I will pay you to hold up a sign
meaning.
saying I quit this job because of the vaccine mandates and I refused, and then just hold the sign and stand
And
there.
then underneath, watch Timcast IRL.
Yes.
No, I wouldn't do that. Like, I wouldn't want it to be about me. I'd be like, here you go, guys, guaranteed income. You don't have to do this. You get 1 year because it really doesn't make sense beyond that. But you'll have a year to figure things out, and you'll keep getting paid, and you'll got to make coffee. No more customers. All you got to do is say, I refuse to work under these conditions. We could totally do that.
Tim is trying to start Occupy Starbucks right now.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to do.
No, I'm
He's
thinking
coming
about
full circle.
Culture jamming, What are some clever ways to engage in? It's not even nonviolent civil disobedience. It's just like protest.
Occupy Starbucks. Let's
Like,
do it.
I wonder, you've got all these people, like Joe Rogan's got a big show, but he's not expanding his voice beyond his show.
Comedy Club. That's the one thing he's doing. What you were talking about on your show earlier. I was
No,
thinking
that I know, but I mean, like, the conversations he has, the very real, newsworthy conversations, comedy show's not going to do that. Comedy show will help, for sure, but that voice he has on Joe Rogan's on the Joe Rogan Experience won't expand unless he puts money into it. And he doesn't have to,
Is he speaking at this rally that's coming up, the anti-mandates rally?
Oh, I don't think so.
Because I know McCullough and Malone are speaking, and then they mentioned that they have like some secret celebrity speakers, right?
Where is it?
It's in DC.
Oh, right.
It's coming out at the end of January, and then
What was it called again? Because I remember seeing
I think
something
it's
about
an
this.
anti-mandate rally.
I know, but it was
something
called
like that.
something. I forgot. People
No,
were,
they
people were
have
sending it to me.
Yeah,
I
they're
forgot the
sending
name
it
of
to me too. They're going to be mad that I got it wrong.
I'm trying to remember what it was.
I think Brett Weinstein's speaking.
Defeat the mandates.
Defeat the
DC.
mandates. Defeat the mandates. DC. There you go. And and I remember when Malone mentioned it on the podcast, Rogan, he kind of had like a response to it, and so it got me wondering if he was one of the celebrity speakers.
No idea. Let's do one more.
That'd be wild. That'd actually be wild. I was at the Juggalo March, by the way.
Oh,
I remember the Juggalo March. That was awesome. They kicked out Antifa.
All right, let's see. Happy Little Tree says, hey, gang. Hey, Poso. Got another dichotomy that we can use for this current conflict. Assassins and Templars. 2021 and 2020 2020 and 2021 were the years we found out who is who. Is that a reference to the video game or like
Assassin's Creed? I don't know.
Yeah.
Warhammer?
Except everything about
Assassin's
the Assassin's Creed history is completely backwards, but okay.
Yeah, but no. Let's be real. The one thing they got right was that the apple in the Bible was actually a reference to a computer that contained a bunch of information, and it was alien technology, right?
Sure.
Have you guys
say
played that
so.
game? That's the story.
That's secret
All right,
Bible
some
history.
kind of-
We're not supposed to talk about that.
All right.
We'll talk about that in the subscriber hour,
Everybody.
ladies and gentlemen.
All right, everybody.
I think the apple was judgment, by the way.
One more super chat. Ryan asks if we're putting an event center at Freedomistan.
We had
Yes.
no judgment prior to that.
We are. One of the goals we're going to have at Freedomistan is that if you are a member of timcast.com at a certain level, we haven't figured it out yet, that we're going to actually have you can apply to come and hang out on Friday nights, and it'll be like 10 tickets per week. Because this is what we wanted to do here, and we couldn't, but the new space will be able to, and you'll be like hanging at the bar, and you can see the show while we're doing it. You'll hear it and everything and hang out.
So
for members.
Candace Owens does. She has like you pay something, but then she'll have like a live audience. I mean,
Yeah.
when I've done her show, it's like Ellen, right?
Oh,
you,
wow.
You walk in and and everyone's applauding, and they have like the little applause sign, and it's big audience too. It's wild.
It's electrifying.
All right, everybody.
It adds something to the show. It really does.
Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and head over to timcast.com, become a member, help support our journalism. But we're going to have a members-only segment posted about around 11 or so p.m. for all of you guys, so we greatly appreciate it. You can follow the show, Timcast IRL, basically everywhere. Follow us on Instagram where we post clips. You can follow me at Timcast. I'm on Instagram as well. I Twitter, whatever. I like posting silly things on Instagram, so follow me there. Jack, you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, Jack Posobiec, host of Human Events Daily on the Turning Point Network. Follow Human Events. We give you the entire news that you need to know in just 25 minutes a day. It's just that easy. You don't have to listen for 2 hours. You don't have to listen for 3 hours. It's just 25 minutes. But if you do get a little bit tired listening to those long podcasts, if you get a little bit tired, the best way to recharge yourself is with the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, available to you at mypillow.com, promo code POSO.
I hear those are awesome, by the way. My mom has one.
Everybody who got, did you use promo code POSO? Did you use promo code POSO to get your mother a MyPillow, Ian?
Oh, Becky?
Someone tweeted, I signed up for a Getter, and I haven't seen a post that wasn't an ad for MyPillow.
I was waiting for that MyPillow. I was going to ask you. I was like, "Where's the MyPillow?" Here we go.
No, I didn't. Yeah, no, but I tell you what though, a lot of people. By the way, if you got a new MyPillow for Christmas, and a lot of people have new MyPillows now because we just had Christmas, make sure you run it through the dryer once to activate the patented fill. This is something. There's a little card on the inside that tells everyone to do this, but not everyone does because they're like, "Oh, I don't need to read that. I throw it out." Like I was the guy that always read the manual before I played the video game. Instead of like, because I like the story, because there was always a little bit of a story in there. Run it through there because I get a lot of people saying, "Hey man, this pillow, like you said, it's gonna be good," but run it through dry. Even 15 minutes. One cycle is fine. 15 minutes. It just fluffs it up. Boom, pops it up like a ballpark Frank. I don't know a kid from Chicago knows about ballpark Franks.
I definitely don't believe in reading the instructions beforehand, and real men don't do that. But anyway, when you're not sleeping and dozing off, you could be traveling, expatting, and also escaping, as I just released my travel, expatting, and escaping hacking masterclass, 50 never-before-seen videos, all available on lukeuncensored.com. I got a couple classes on there. I'm really proud of the video that I did today talking about the El Salvadorian government mandates that they just released with a very funny, important video to the general public. So I talked about in great detail. I'm very proud of that video. lukeuncensored.com. Hope to see some of you guys there. Thanks for having me.
Follow me at iancrossland.net. It is really good to be back. Great to see you guys again. I can confirm Kit Harington and Rose Leslie are married with the baby.
Oh,
congrats.
So
Congrats for them. And I want to give a shout out to Mike, who I saw at the Red Horse Diner in Ellensburg, Washington. Woo! If you're out there, cool that you watch the show. Good to see you, Matt. It's weird, like for the first time I'm going out and someone knew who I was.
That's awesome.
Outside. It was very, very casual, very, very, very normal. I think this is just the way it's going to be.
Normal.
Was it someone who was like, "Oh, you're Ian. I can't stand you on the
Are
show,
you
but I know who you are."
And man, I was talking about science hard before he approached me too, so you've been listening for a while. Mike, thanks, man. Good to see you, buddy.
And you guys may follow me on Twitter at Sour Patchlets. I'm very glad the gang's all back together and looking forward to another great week.
We will see you all at timcast.com, 11 or so p.m. for members only. Sign up, and we'll see y'all there.